Possibly you're wrong. More like a bridge too short. Did I mention I don't like heights? Uh-oh.
Hello. Let me know if you can hear me. In the meantime, hello to Roz and Tridale and HJ Fies, 80-year-old man, da boy, Andrea, Scooter, Jim, who else is here? Adam, Diamond Lock Productions, Tridale, I might have said that already, Feed Me Lore, Monster Slurpee, and Dana is here. Hey guys, how's it going? Is my voice duplicated, really? Let me know if my voice is duplicated. I don't know if that might be a Streamlabs thing. Let me see. You hear an echo? Let me know if it's normal to you. Okay, it might just be you, Scooter. Try refreshing the stream, maybe? Anyway, hello everyone. Let me just transition here. I saw people like betting, wondering how much the stream is gonna crash today. So hopefully none, but we'll see. Let me get a new document open here. Do that. I am using the gaming laptop though, which is a little bit stronger than the laptop I use for work. Let me just change the canvas size here because this is going to be too small. Do that, and I'm just going to change the paper size, paper color, because this is also like eye searing. There we go. And flip canvas 90 degrees. There we go. That's good enough. But volume up 30 to 40%. I actually checked in Streamlabs. This is as high as the volume goes. I actually checked that just before the stream started because I was like, isn't this a little soft? but apparently not. This is just as loud as it goes, so not sure what to do about that. But yeah, one thing I can do is let me know if I should turn the music down, then you can like turn me up or something. And I saw people wondering who we should draw today. Why don't I use the gaming laptop for work then? Because it's the gaming laptop. Honestly, it's because the work laptop is strong enough for most of my work. The gaming laptop is a little stronger in terms of its graphics card, and I think it has more RAM as a result, but I tend to keep it for gaming because the second I start doing work stuff on it as well, it starts eating up resources into the machine, and then it like can't game anymore just because its hard drive is too full and things like that. So I tend to keep the two separate. But I found that because I tend to struggle a little with stream, mostly we figured out it's my internet, it's not the computer itself. I just decided, well, for the sake of a slightly more powerful machine, I would just rather use it just to kind of factor out the fact that maybe my work laptop is a little bit too full. I do want to upgrade to like a PC machine eventually though, but at the moment I'm working on a overseas trip. So that's where my finances are being allocated right now. Voice and music is fine? Okay, cool. How's Velma? Oh, don't even get me started. This show is going to be the death of me. Before I get into it, what should we draw? I see people saying a capybara. I mean, we can. I've never really drawn an animal on stream. Let me grab a reference here. Capybara. Might be a bit tricky, but we can give it a try. Just because I say tricky mainly because I have to like talk and think and draw at the same time. So I find my art on stream is a little sloppier than when I'm not on stream, but that might just be a skill issue, quite frankly. Let's see. This image might be a bit big. Let me just resize this. Resize this, scale transform, keep aspect ratio, turn that like there so I have space to work. And lock that. Okay, let's see. Art stream with Capybara, hell yeah. But yes, Velma has been taking up basically all my time. I haven't even really been on like Tumblr or social media in general, which basically just means Tumblr. I don't really use other social media because this show is turning out to be so difficult to review, but not for the reasons that I think people might think, because it's a bad show. It's a terrible show, make no mistake. But the reason why I'm finding it so difficult to review specifically is because the show has no structure. There is no structure to the show whatsoever. Plot points would happen, and then it would be like the show got bored of its own plot point, and then it would just discard it completely. And it would just be like, no, I don't want to do that plot point anymore. Moving on to the next thing, and then it'll pick up a new plot point, and then it'll stick with that plot point for an episode or two, and then it's like, no, I'm bored of this one too. Next plot point, and it just keeps doing that throughout the entirety of the show. So it's a little difficult to try and build a video around, because I essentially have to build structure out of nothing, because the show itself just does not have structure. So I can't approach it the way I've been approaching, the way I approached season 1, because in season 1 it was like a proper breakdown. Like, this is episode 1, these are the things that happen in episode 1, and then it's episode 2, these are the things that happen in episode 2. I can't do that with the second season, because if I do that with the second season, my review is going to be as confused and broken as the show itself, and it's going to make my videos seem like I am unstructured, I am unfocused, I'm jumping all over the place, I'm not focusing on singular plot points, I just keep getting distracted. And it's like, no, that's what the show is like. And I can't do that because, again, it would just make for a terrible video. So I have been struggling for the past few days, kind of trying to figure out how I can bring structure to that which has no structure. And there was a point in the video where I was going to just break down one character's, not even plot line, like what a character does throughout the show, like just one character, and just focus, this is what this character does in the show if we ignore everything else. And I tried doing that, and even when I started doing that, I couldn't, because I got to like episode 7 and I'm like, this is just becoming a mess. Because even when I'm only focusing on one character, it's impossible to keep up with this character because it's causing the same problem, where it's like, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and none of it is actually connected. It's all just a bunch of nonsense, and it keeps abandoning plot points, it keeps losing interest in its own story, and it's just a nightmare to try and follow. Like, even me sitting down and trying to cut down to the most barest of basics, it's still ending up to be a massive chore. So eventually what I decided to do is I have had to look up like episode synopses online to see what are the most important plot points that people log when they write down the episode's summaries, because I am having trouble breaking down the episodes into their most barest basics, because there's just so much all the time. It's just this onslaught of nonsense where nothing is progressed and nothing connects to anything else. So something happens and then they get bored of it, and then something else happens and they get bored of it, and it's just that for like 10 whole episodes. And I got to episode 10 when I was watching the show, and I was like, oh, thank goodness it's the last episode. And then I remembered there's a 40-minute Halloween special. And the only reason I remembered is because the final episode of season 2 ends on a cliffhanger, which so does the Halloween special, but the show is dead, so who cares? So that has been a very difficult thing to try and like overcome from a writing standpoint in terms of like making a video, because even if the show is terrible, I still have to make the video itself entertaining to watch and give it some sort of structure. Wait, season 2 is bad? I know, shocker right there, right? Who would have possibly guessed it? Scrappy was the hero in Velma season 2. Scrappy is an interesting conversation. I'll explain.
I've received a new message.
Thank you, Avina. Hey, Catharsis, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. What is a capybara, and how is Avina? This is a capybara. It is the largest rodent on Earth. I forget how big they are. They're about the size of like a pig, maybe? No, they might be a little bit smaller than a pig. They're like Labrador size. They're an aquatic rodent from the Amazon. And they are very popular in zoos because they have a very, very mellow temperament. Like, they just want to chill in water. That's all they want to do. And they are extremely unbothered by things. And it's very, very hard to get them upset about anything. So that's a capybara. But yes, Scrappy. Scrappy is interesting. I'm relatively excited to talk about Scrappy in the show itself, because I think they could have done something actually interesting with that character, but instead they just decided to do like the most boring basic thing, which is essentially just to copy the Scooby-Doo live action movie, where Scrappy is secretly evil and the master villain and the bad guy. And that would have been funny if we haven't seen that done before. Like, it's supposed to be a funny plot twist, and it's like, yes, it was a funny plot twist in the live action Scooby-Doo movie, which came out over 20 years ago, you know? Maybe you should go over a single character and what they go through to get the point across of how nightmarish it is to follow. See, that's the thing. I tried to do that, and I can't because It's literally that big of a mess where even doing that, I will spend like 20 minutes describing disconnected nonsense, and it would drag the entire review down. And that's just not possible. But it's a problem I've luckily more or less overcome by this stage, and the writing's going much smoother. Where what I'm doing instead is I'm focusing on the more broader plot points in an episode, and then I just focus in on the things I actually want to talk about within episodes. Like I made the community post that I just finished the Breakfast Club episode, which, believe it or not, was not as painful as you might believe, considering the fact that I really like the Breakfast Club. It wasn't as painful, but it did give me a lot of interesting things to talk about. On the one hand, it gave me an excuse to talk about the Breakfast Club, which I appreciate. I always appreciate having a reason to talk about the Breakfast Club, just because I really like the Breakfast Club. I don't know whether I would call the Breakfast Club one of my favorite movies, but I do find it's a movie I reference a lot, especially when it comes to like character writing, and especially if the character writing is that of teenagers or young people, just because I think it's so well it's executed so masterfully in that movie, and in a way where even modern film and TV shows that write teenage characters, they tend to not handle them as well as the Breakfast Club, which is kind of sad when you think about the fact that the Breakfast Club came out in 1985, and it's like, what, it's exactly 40 years, no, is it 40 years? Yes, it's exactly 40 years this year, and there are still very, very few pieces of media out of America that write teenagers as well as the Breakfast Club, unless you're talking about like an art film or something along those lines. Still need to watch it? Definitely watch the Breakfast Club. It is a genuinely entertaining movie. I've seen one or two people, because I like watching reaction channels, I've seen one or two people say that they don't understand why it has the hype it has and why people love it so much, which is fair, but I've never seen anybody say they dislike it. Like, even if they don't really get into it, they can at least be like, okay, well, at least it's entertaining. Even though if I don't understand the hype, I at least had fun watching it. But for me, it's the character writing that is just so insanely well done. Even if you take out the teenage focus, the fact that it's teenage characters, even if you take that away from it, it's still just a really well written movie, because I am not somebody who generally cares about teen dramas. It's not a genre I have any real interest in, and even though it's not something it's not a genre or setting I would specifically seek out myself, I still genuinely love The Breakfast Club based purely on character writing and how well and masterfully it's done. So highly recommend it. And yeah, Velma tries to parody The Breakfast Club, but it also doesn't. It's very strange. Again, I don't want to like give away my video before it's published, but Velma, it has a unique problem I've never seen a show do before.
You have received a new message.
Oh, thanks, Avina. Oh, thank you, Indigo. I'm writing about Hell of a Boss and having the same problem. The show will joke about male SA victims and then ask you to care in Husband Hotel. Yeah, like Husband Hotel is another one I want to cover at some point. It's just Velma, people were really, really interested in hearing what I had to say, and people have been asking for it for a very long time. And so I didn't want to like disappoint people. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can talk about Velma. Big mistake. But it's at least giving me interesting things to talk about as usual. It's just the lack of structure, which is killing me. But like I said, I've more or less figured that problem out. So it's not as big of a problem as it was when I originally started writing. It just means I've had to write the script like 4 times already. It's another reason why it's taking so long, where I've had to rewrite this thing, like I said, I think 4 times. And the other thing is, right, I don't watch the show and then write my script. I watch the show multiple times before, well, not before, but while I'm writing, because I watch the show once, then I watch the show a second time as I'm writing, then I watch the show a third time as I'm making specific points to make sure that I'm correct in what I'm saying or I'm not misremembering something. And then I have to watch it, a third or fourth time when I'm taking screenshots. And then, of course, I have to watch it while I'm editing the video as well. So it's a lot of Velma to sit through. Is this good? Yeah, that's good. Because I'm kind of changing how this little guy here is sitting because I want to do a pose here, which I think will be cute. You misspoke when you said Velma parodies The Breakfast Club. It's called Bastardized. It's not even that, though. Oh, that's what I was saying. The thing with Velma is that I've never seen a show like do before is it feels constantly as if none of the characters want to be here. And not in a way where it's funny. It's like the show will be like, oh, we're doing a Breakfast Club episode. And then all the characters will be like, I don't want to do a Breakfast Club episode. And then they don't do a Breakfast Club episode. They like mention it once or twice. And the setting looks like the library in the movie. But they don't actually do the Breakfast Club. Like they mention it and they're like, yes, we're doing this. And then they don't do it because they don't want to. And then they don't do anything else either. So it's like they're not even parodying the Breakfast Club. They're not parodying anything. They're complaining about the fact that they don't want to parody the Breakfast Club, and then they don't parody the Breakfast Club. Subversion, I guess, but it's like it feels like when you have to do a group project at school. So you have to all show up. Because if you don't, you'll fail. But nobody wants to be there. Oh, thank you, Avina. Hey, Scooter. So nobody wants to be there. And so they don't do anything. What's your favorite adult film? I watched Girls Trip last night, and now I'll never be the same. I assume by adult film you mean like made for adults. That's a tough one. That's a really difficult one because when it comes to films that are like rated for adults, I generally fall into the horror genre because I really enjoy horror. But as far as drama and such go, I'm not entirely sure. I would have to like think about that. But yes, so Velma parodies The Breakfast Club by not parodying The Breakfast Club at all. And does nothing with it. I actually say this in the script, it's so dire that they don't even parody Don't You Forget About Me. And you know how the first season had like several pop songs in it? They would like play a pop song, even if it wasn't entirely brand new, like they had I Feel Like a Woman in one episode, and that song came out when I was like 12 or something, I can't remember. But in this new season, there's none of it. There's no music. Well, there's like 1 or 2 episodes, I think, that has any music in it whatsoever. And in the Breakfast Club episode, they don't even play Don't You Forget About Me once throughout the entire thing. They don't parody any of the most iconic scenes. They don't parody like the soundtrack. The only real Breakfast Club thing they have, aside from saying we're doing a Breakfast Club episode, is they have a statue in the library, and then that's it. And that's literally it. There's like nothing else. Did I see The Substance? No, but it's on my list. Dude, I've been too busy watching Velma. I've been too busy watching Velma my whole life. No, but it's on my list. I wasn't interested at first, but then as I started learning more about the movie, I'm like, okay, wait a second, this might actually be very up my alley. So it's definitely on my radar. I'm trying to think what the last movie I watched just for like myself was, but I can't remember. I think it was something animated. because I recently just checked my Letterboxd and I watched something after Transformers 1, but I can't recall what it is right now. Velma is like melting my brain, I swear. I'd never expect a super chat. No. I get what Scooter means. Scooter means like movies that are specifically made for adults, not for like teenagers or the family or whatever. But I can't remember. I mean, no, I'm not logged in. I'm not logged into Letterboxd on this computer. I mean, I can try and check. Let me see. Letterboxd. If I'm not logged in, I'm just going to give up. Yeah, I'm not logged in. Okay. I can't answer what it is. The last thing I watched. Looney Tunes? No. I am so furious because I saw everybody saying, oh, The Day the World Blew Up is in theaters at last. And I was like, oh, great. So I went to go check my movie theater. And then my movie theater says, oh, no, it played in January here. It's already gone. And I'm like, but why? Why on earth did we get the movie early when we usually get movies exactly the same time as America or later? We never ever get things early, so I don't know why that happened, and it meant that I missed seeing the movie in theaters. I'm like furious about that. I'm so angry. Only watched The Breakfast Club about 2 years ago. Yeah, that's how it happens. I thought about mentioning this in the video itself, but I don't want people to get the impression that I like The Breakfast Club and a lot of these like 80s movies, because I really enjoy that era of film. I'm worried people might think that it is nostalgia talking, which it might be to a certain degree, but the other thing is, even though I'm a 90s kid, right, I didn't seek out these movies until I was an adult. I think I was like 25 when I saw The Breakfast Club for the first time. So even though I might have an affection for the era of film, I can't say, oh, I love The Breakfast Club. I remember what it's like in the 80s or whatever. Like, I don't have that attachment to it. So nostalgia might be a factor, but it's not in terms of like, oh, I grew up with this movie, so I have a bias towards it. And I'm a little concerned people might think that me praising movies from that era is just a bias, when it's literally just me going back and watching older films that I hadn't seen before and finding out, no, they're genuinely just really good films. Because I've spoken about other movies in my videos before, where it's like, dude, do you think I was around in 1930 to watch M in theaters, or Hickson, or what's the other one, Metropolis? No, I watch that stuff because I enjoy it. I make an effort to watch movies that are historically marked as being really, really good because I like movies, right? And your aunt in YouTube post made me look at my local theater and they're only showing Snow White remake, which made me very sad that day. Yeah, although I'm getting a little bit of satisfaction over the fact that everybody is roasting Snow White, but I haven't really looked into it because, as usual, the worst insult that I can throw at a live action remake that Disney makes is to not acknowledge it. Even if I like yell and scream and stomp my feet about it and scream about it, it doesn't do as much damage as just refusing to acknowledge it because I just don't find it important enough, right? It's just like, it's not worth speaking about. It's trash. There's no reason to talk about it. But I will say, as I'm working on Velma, one of the things that I've been doing to keep my sanity is I've been planning a video afterwards, which will probably only be in like a year's time or so. But I want to talk about the live action Snow White remake, just the movie, not all the nonsense surrounding the movie regarding the actress and so, just the movie itself. And then while I'm talking about the movie as the movie, I will cut back and forth, I will cut back and forth between reviewing the live action movie and talking about the making of process that went into making the original Snow White, because I think it would just be really interesting, and it would be partly a gut punch to see the two juxtaposed to each other, but also an acknowledgement of how difficult making the original Snow White was. It was oh, thank you, Avina. It was a massive undertaking that nobody thought would work. Classics for real. Hey, this is thanks for the Magnifico video, and at the least finding some credible evidence for the AI theory. Thank you so much. Yeah, I saw some people criticize me adding that, where they're like, this isn't generated AI. This is a different kind of AI. And I'm like, yes, I'm aware of that. The talking point is the fact that the movie contains any kind of AI at all, because that was a massive talking point when it came out. So even though it doesn't contain any generated AI, it still contains AI to some degree. So that's why I mentioned it, because it was something we were all theorizing on for a very, very long time, and we couldn't figure out, does it actually contain any AI or not? Turns out it does. It's just not the kind of AI that everybody thought it was. Which, fair enough, like, apparently Across the Spider-Verse uses some or other neural network to apply the line work to the models or something like that. I think it's probably Houdini. I would guess it's Houdini, because I think Houdini works like that, but obviously I don't know for sure. But my point is, there was AI used in Wish, and it just kind of feels sucky that everybody was theorizing about this and Disney just did not comment. They didn't try to clarify. They didn't try to say, oh no, it's not that. Like, they just let the speculation happen, which I suppose is the best way to handle that kind of speculation. But it's annoying. It's really annoying because the company is so cagey and unwilling just to be straightforward. They have to play like the PR game every single time they're in a conversation with the press, and it's just really, really annoying to listen to it, quite frankly. There's also a live action for How to Train Your Dragon this year. Yeah, I saw that. That one I don't understand. My only guess is somebody at DreamWorks. I wonder if it's Katzenberg, but I don't know if he's still at DreamWorks. Somebody at DreamWorks probably saw all the money that the Mufasa movie made and the Lion King movie made, and were like, they want to get in on that cash train, not realizing that the train is already like dead in the water by this point. Everybody's, well, not everybody, but the majority of people are sick of live action remakes, especially because Disney has poisoned the well as badly as they have. So I'm guessing that that's why that's happening. Chris Sanders isn't involved, so again, I don't care. I do not care. I think I said in the past live that I'm going to start doing that thing where every single time a really good live action movie, just like removed from anything, a brand new live action movie comes out, I'm going to be like, wow, that was so good. I can't wait to see if they do an animated remake of it, like just out of spite. But I would probably get on people's nerves. It would be funny, but people would get really annoyed with me very fast. But it's funny to think about, because that's the kind of insanity it feels like to me. What if I watched, or what's like an example? The Substance, because somebody mentioned it earlier. I watched The Substance and I'm like, wow, that was so good. I can't wait for them to do an animated remake of this. Or what's the other one that everybody's talking about? Well, the TV show Severance, which I haven't been watching. I just know that people are talking about it. Like watching that and being like, oh man, I can't wait till they do an animated remake of this. It's going to be so cool. Can you imagine what this would look like in 2D? Oh, it'll be so cool. I can't wait. Just because I'm like sick and tired of people doing that to like animated shows. I really like the reaction channel Bad Medicine, and they did that with Avatar, where while they were watching Avatar The Last Airbender, this was before they saw the Shyamalan movie and the live action TV show, they were watching the original Avatar, and then near the end of the first season, one of them was like, oh man, can you imagine what this would look like in live action? And I like basically wanted to throw my screen across the room. It's so annoying. Why? Animated remake of Old Yeller sounds amazing. No joke. I would watch that. That that could be like in the vein of no, Lassie Come Home is a live action movie, but it'd be kind of like Plague Dogs. It'd be a less traumatizing Plague Dogs, I suppose. Maybe Watership Down. I don't know. I have interesting feelings about Watership Down. I don't like it being used as a shock movie because it's got a lot more substance to it than that. I mean, we did get an animated remake of Metropolis. True. You know what? That is a fantastic point. We did get a animated remake of Metropolis. That's such a good point. I'm going to remember that. It's also funny because I've read Metropolis, the manga, and the animated movie is not. It's not the manga. It is way closer to the silent movie than it is the manga. It's really funny. Godfather animated when? Exactly. Like, make an animated remake of The Godfather. That being said, though, I mean, we are kind of seeing that to a certain degree because we're getting, like, Star Trek animated shows now. And I saw, while grabbing footage for the Velma video, apparently at some point they were thinking of making an animated remake, quote-unquote, of The Golden Girls, which is very strange. I might have been into the idea if it wasn't for the fact that the animation quality looked really, really low. Like it looked like very low quality, low budget cutout animation. It kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you guys watch Joel or Vinny from Vinesauce. They covered this bootleg Family Guy show called Family Gal. And it's one of the worst things I've ever seen, but it's that special kind of terrible where I highly enjoy it just because it's so bad. So the Golden Girls animated remake, whatever it was supposed to be, it kind of looked like that kind of animation. Very, very bizarre. I don't know whether it actually ever got off the ground or not.
You have received a new message.
Oh, thank you, Evina. Lower Decks, yeah. I've heard excuse me, I'm hiccuping. I've heard conflicting information from Lower Decks. I've heard some people say, no, it's actually pretty good. I've heard other people say, no, it's like the worst thing to happen to Star Trek in the last 5 years, which is a bold statement considering the other things that happened to Star Trek in the last 5 years. And then I've seen people say, well, it's better than the live action Trek at the moment. And I've seen people say, no, it's genuinely funny. And then I've seen people say, oh, get past like the first season, it gets good. So in other words, it's a Star Trek show. Because that seems to be par for the course with Star Trek the last decade, 20 years. When did Discovery... No, not Discovery. When did Enterprise come out? I don't actually know. Where is my bucket? Oh, here it is. I'm blind. There we go. With B. Arthur and Betty White gone, who would voice them? Have they lost their minds? I don't know. I imagine they'll get like a sound-alike, kind of like how Castellaneta voiced the genie in the Aladdin sequels. Well, the second one. I think they got Robin Williams back for the third one. But I'm guessing it would be something similar like that. They would just get like sound-alikes, which, you know, is kind of gross. The entire charm of the Golden Girls rests on the performance of the actors. Like, it's not like you could replace B. Arthur with a different actress and have the exact same show, you know. Though that show is the actors are the actors. Just expect a sci-fi fandom to be split about everything, business as usual. You know what? Fair. That's very fair. But all this nonsense, as usual... Thank you, Avina. Hey, Christian. What do you think of Agent Elvis? I've not heard of that. I'll have to look that up. Let me just heart that. No, I don't want to block you. I want to heart the... There we go. I want to heart the super chat. I'm not overly familiar, but like I said, I've been stuck in Velma hell for like the past month or so. Is they the actors? Yes, exactly. animated versions of movies remind me of the time we got Tom and Jerry in Willy Wonka. Yeah, you know what? That's also fair. Although, from what I heard, even though as pointless as that movie is, apparently, from what I've seen, the animation quality itself is pretty good. Like, it moves very well, even though it doesn't appear to have any kind of soul. It has some talent behind making the characters move, which is very interesting to me. Who owns MGM at the moment? No, who owns Tom and Jerry? Because Tom and Jerry was MGM. And MGM has gotten out of the movie making business, and they make their income from like reselling the films, and the hotel industry, I think, is where they get most of their income from at the moment. So I think MGM is still like, I think they're still their own thing. Jeez, thanks guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks, Classic for real. Now that I know that you're drawing, I 3D scanned the McDonald's Happy Meal Capybara toy from Encanto and then 3D printed it. Oh, that's so good. You pirated a McDonald's toy. That's amazing. That's so good. But yes, I'm not sure who owns MGM, and I'm not sure who owns Tom and Jerry. I don't think it's Warner Brothers. That'd be something I'd have to look into. Actually, no, it might be Warner Brothers, because I think Tom and Jerry appears in like Cartoon Network properties like Boomerang and stuff, and Cartoon Network is owned by Warner Brothers. So maybe? I don't know. If I recall, Amazon owns MGM now. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, coloration. Let's do the sandy color first. And then I will do it... Oops, wrong one. Oh, that's too small. There we go. Just do his face like that. Body here, body here, body here. And then the little guy as well. And the body and the body. There we go. You wouldn't download a car. Didn't somebody do that? Didn't somebody like 3D print an entire car? I remember some other clickbait article about that, but I didn't click on the article itself. What? Oh, thank you, Avina. Thanks, Classic for real again. P.S. I rescued that capybara toy from the trash after an angry mom threw it away at a birthday party at a public park. Oh no, that's so sad. I'm so glad you rescued it. That kind of thing makes me sad. I get like overly sentimental about nonsense. Tom and Jerry is owned by Turner. Oh, okay, so Turner is Warner Brothers, yes. So Warner gets to use them. Anything MGM did post 1986 is what's still with MGM, which means it's in Amazon's hands. Okay, that makes sense. Because yeah, Turner owns Cartoon Network. Well, Warner Brothers in general. I don't know, like, I'm not overly interested in who owns what outside of who is responsible for this, which is often why I will look up interviews and things for Wish and such. That's why the only reason I really watched the making of for Wish, because I was like, who is responsible for this? I need you to sit down and explain your thought process to me. I need to know who to blame for why the movie is like this. The one good thing about Velma Season 2 is because the first season was such an absolute disaster, there's no interviews regarding Season 2. Nobody really interviewed anyone about it, and they just kind of dumped the entire season onto HBO Max, and they barely gave it any kind of marketing or anything, which is good. Thank you, Abina. Which is good for me because it means I don't have to sit down and watch a bunch of Hollywood people just talk absolute garbage to me and like lie to my face, because that's the part I find most infuriating about making videos, is listening to Hollywood people just lie to me. It makes me so angry. Thank you, Classics for real. It was covered in McShake and melted cheese. Aw. Well, I'm glad it served a greater purpose. It's very good. But yes, at least The one saving grace with Velma season 2 is that I don't have to sit there and listen to Mindy try and sell the show. I don't have to listen to Charlie Grandy sell the show. I can just watch the show itself and not worry about the creators, because the creators don't want to talk about it. They're just not interested in talking about it whatsoever, which suits me fine. It does mean I have less content in terms of what was the thought process, what was the goal, like what was the...
You have received a new message.
Thank you, Avina. What was the overall point to certain decisions, but it's fine. In this case, I really don't need to listen to Mindy talk again. Christian asks, have you considered a collaboration with other YouTubers like Shady Durags and Jar Media? I think you mean Jar when you say... I think you mean Jar Media when you say Jar. I'm not sure. Nobody's really approached me. My problem is that I worry about a lot is whether I can perform under a deadline, I suppose. I could, but I worry I might not be as punctual as the other person might require me to be. Because making my own videos, I'm on my own time, right? It's different when I work with a studio because things are extremely structured. It's not so much, this is the deadline. It's, this is your scene. Finish it as fast and with as much efficiency as possible. And make sure to make minimal mistakes. And then I'm like, yes, boss. And I sit down and do it. Like, that's what work with the studio is like, which I really enjoy. Because I just sit down and I work as fast as I can to make good quality. And I hand it off and they say, okay, great, just change X, Y, and Z. And then I'm like, okay, I will. And I make the changes. And then they're like, okay, good. Scene is cleared. Here's the next scene. But when it comes to working with another YouTuber, I am a little bit worried that I'll procrastinate too much, or I'll struggle, or I'll get stuck on something like I am with Velma at the moment, where I'm a little stuck just talking about the show because it has no structure to it whatsoever. So I am a little concerned from that point of view. But like I said, I've never actually worked with another YouTuber, so I don't know. I simply don't know. And it might turn out to be a non-issue if it ever does happen. Oh, Jar is just a robot? Okay, yes, I know who you mean. I thought you meant like Jar Media, which is the podcast that I Hate Everything has. What if, instead of live-action remakes, they did animated remasters of old movies? You know what they... No, they've done that to a certain degree. But what they really should do is they should do that with the Doctor Who episodes that are lost, where they've just got the audio left. And I think they have to a certain degree, but I think it's more like... It's more like animated storyboards, really. It's not so much complete animation. It's more like an animatic than an animated episode. But that's something I think they should look into, because I would be really down for that, quite frankly. And I think it would be cool to rescue those episodes from oblivion, as it were. Because you won't have the original footage, but I think animating them and doing it to a degree where it is a complete, fully animated show, that could be really, really cool. I just don't know if the BBC has the budget for that sort of thing, though. They've animated a lot of Missing Doctor episodes for DVD. Is it like full animation, though, or is it like animatic? From the clips I have seen, it looks more like very, very rudimentary animation. I don't want to say like Archer, because I think Archer does have higher, not quality, but their animation is a little bit more realized. There's a little bit more movement to it. Whereas what I've seen from the Doctor Who episodes, it looked to me that it's very, very rudimentary movement. It reminded me a little bit of that motion comic that they made for Watchmen when they released that on DVD, which was an interesting idea. I'm not against them doing that for Watchmen. I thought that was a very bizarre but unique way to try and interpret the original material into a media format that is more accurate to the comic than the live action movie was. Have fun finishing the capybara. Thank you. You gotta get going. It was nice chatting. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for dropping in. That's accurate? Yeah. This is just kind of the vibe I got. But again, Doctor Who, specifically Classic Who, is something I still need to get into. I think I've mentioned this before. I'm most curious about the episodes that were written by...
Received a new
Oh,
message.
thank you, Avina. I'm most interested in the episodes written by Douglas Adams, just because I really like Douglas Adams in general. So I'm quite curious about looking into it, but I've got so many things I need to get to. Spy Archer, Captain Archer, or Admiral Archer? Spy Archer, the animated adult live action animated show. See, the two are blurring in my head by this point. Make the capybara cartoonishly rich. I mean, I can give him like a little top hat or something. Maybe I'll do that. Like, give him like a really, really small little hat. It might be cute. I'm finicking around with details when really all I should really be doing is this. It's not something where I should be that pedantic about the details. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing with my time. And the thing is, right, every single time with Velma that I have to get footage of something I know I want to reference in the video, I end up watching the thing I'm getting reference from because it's more entertaining than watching Velma itself. I was stuck in a bit of a dysfunction loop because I am referencing Speed Racer in the Velma video, and I just kind of ended up watching Speed Racer episodes because they're up on YouTube for free, both in Japanese and the 60s dub. You can just watch them. They're just available for everyone from like the official sources as well. So I just started watching those, even though I only needed like a small clip from it, because it's just a far more entertaining show than Velma. It's like genuinely charming and interesting. So I'm like sitting there watching Speed Racer instead. And I'm like telling myself, you know, you gotta get back to watching Velma. You can't watch Speed Racer you can't keep watching Speed Racer when you're gonna spend less than 10 seconds mentioning it. But that was also like a big rabbit hole I had to dig myself out of because I was just wasting my own time to such a degree. But I do actually recommend Speed Racer. It's genuinely charming. It reminds me in a bizarre way of Tintin, if that makes sense. Like it's very much a show made for like boys, like little boys, but in a, how do I put it, in a positive way. It's not like you're like, oh, that's a show made for little boys. It's like, no. It's a show made for specifically little boy kids. And it's really charming. And it's really fun to watch. And as somebody who really likes Tintin, I just got a kick out of it. I thought it was cute. So yeah, that's just on YouTube. Speed Racers on YouTube. Well, there goes my week. Exactly. And like I said, genuinely better written and more entertaining than Velma. Even the dub, I know the dub is like a bit of a punching bag for a lot of people just because the dub is what the dub is. But it kind of becomes a style after a while. Like it stops being a strange dub and it just kind of starts being what the style of the show is. It's like, yeah, that's what the show sounds like. You know, deal with it. He's going over that cliff. Oh! There's a lot of the like, oh! But, like I said, I was watching both the dub and the original Japanese. And the thing is, the original 1960s dub, the Japanese is exactly like that. There is no exaggeration from the 60s dub. It is almost word for word an accurate translation of what's said in Japanese. That's why the dub is like that.
You have received a new message.
Oh, thank you, Avina. It's like overly accurate. That's like the show's biggest problem. Thank you, Christian. Speed Racer is basically one of the original anime ever produced. I watched it all the way through once. Yeah, I need to do that because, like I said, I was just grabbing footage and I was like, wait a second, this is really entertaining and fun and charming, and I just genuinely enjoy it. Because again, I like Showa era anime, just like the entire expanse of the Showa period. And it made me interested into learning more about Tatsunoko itself, because I don't actually know that much about Tatsunoko. So that was also the thing. And then I'm like, oh, I should read up and
You
watch.
have received a new message.
Thank you, Abina. I should read up and watch videos and essays talking about Tatsunoko, because I don't know Tatsunoko that well. So again, it's this giant rabbit hole that I'm like, you need to stop. You need to watch Velma. Stop reading and looking up things about Tatsunoko when you're supposed to be watching Velma. Anyway, thank you, Necromancer Cobalt. I know you don't like critiquing indie animations, but I was wondering if you've seen the Joel Guerra Inner animation. They just released a game and I'm so fascinated by it. I have not. Let me type that in immediately, because I will look at that after the stream and I will like fall into that rabbit hole as well. Then I can do that instead of watching Velma. Because one thing about covering terrible cartoons is, in an attempt to just procrastinate, I end up falling down these rabbit holes and learning very, very interesting things about other parts of film. Like, again, thanks to Velma, I recently learned that the Soviet era, they didn't have movie trailers because there was no use for it. Because in Soviet era Russia, the movies were funded by the government, so there was no incentive to make a profit. That's why some of the movies are as artsy and strange as they are, like Solaris and what's the other one? Stalker. That's why they're like that. It's because there's no desire or need to turn a profit. But it also means there's no movie trailers. And that's just something I never knew before. And again, if it's thanks to Velma that I looked that up, because I'm going to reference a Soviet film in the Velma video. But yeah, it's just, that's an interesting thing I learned. So that's cool. That's at least one thing. Even if the show is absolutely horrendous, I learn all these interesting things because I'm always very concerned that I'm going to say something stupid. So I double check things and I make sure to read up on things that I might not have enough knowledge about, just to make sure that I'm not making a fool of myself. And it does result in me learning things, like Soviet era movies didn't have movie trailers, or Speed Racer is on YouTube and it's actually a really good show. Things like that. So there's that at least. The game is called Enna Dream Barbecue, by the way. Okay, thanks. Now, can we go back and pick up where we left off? Yeah, sure, Brian. Where did you leave off? Of course, if you get too artsy in Soviet Russia, you end up like Yuri Norstein, having to hide your animation in a damp shed. Yeah, that's true. But, like I said, it's a very interesting era of filmmaking, and Mosfilms is on YouTube. I saw somebody from Eastern Europe say that they're very annoyed with Mosfilms because Mosfilms, apparently their latest, their actual movies that are coming out now are not very good, and it's because they're coasting on the income they make off YouTube, so they don't really have an incentive to make like really good movies like they did in the 60s, 70s and such. But it also means that there's this vast landscape of foreign film that is just open to Westerners like me who have not seen a lot of Soviet era films, and that's really, really cool. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword, I suppose.
You have received a new
Oh,
message.
thank you, Amina. Thanks, Scooter. I love the still image of you. I love the still image you draw of yourself during the reviews. Are you creating any brand new ones for the Velma 2 review? I will, probably. With the still images, often what happens is I'll have a specific pose in mind. Sometimes it'll be, I've seen it in a cartoon or something, and I want to pose similar, and then I just redraw my own avatar making that pose. Or it'll be a pose that I want to use, and just off the top of my head, and then obviously I draw my avatar doing it. And while I'm writing the script, or oftentimes editing the video together, that's when I need the specific expression or pose, and that's usually when I'll just turn on my tablet and quickly draw it. because the avatars, they don't take that long to draw, especially because I don't really have to sit there and think about what kind of proportions I need to use. I don't have to think, how am I going to draw my outfit? All of that is already done. I basically just have to sit and do the physical work. And because I have it all in one folder, it's very easy to just adapt a lot of them and change them. So with Velma, I don't know if there'll be any new ones, in that I haven't planned any new ones, but there almost certainly will, because there'll be like expressions or body gestures I want to make, and then I'll have to sit down and draw them. Actually, now that I say that, I know for a fact there will be, because there is one specific part in the script I've already written where I do a pose which I don't have an avatar for yet, so I'll need to like draw that. And like I said, I usually do that like when I get to the editing stage, because then I have a better idea of what the audio sounds like, and I have a better idea of what the space on the timeline of the video will look like and things like that. So I tend to do that as I'm editing rather than beforehand. I've been practicing watercolors, and digital art feels like cheating to me now. Yeah, watercolors is really difficult. My mom does watercolors, and it's like witchcraft to me. I've tried watercolors. I probably would be fine with them, but I've got that problem where if I'm not automatically good with something the first try, I get very discouraged. I've got that problem going for me, where if I'm not good immediately, it's like, well, I guess I'm just bad, and then I don't try. I don't keep trying to get better. It's a big problem. I really should try and address that. Have you ever considered drawing your avatar in a different outfit? Not usually. I changed the outfit recently because I improved it, in my opinion, but I'm not very good at character design. It's not one of my strengths. So if I have an outfit that works, I tend to kind of stick to it, because I'm like, okay, this outfit works and it looks good, so we're going to keep this outfit for now, because then I don't have to sit there and design something. Because even if I'm not on stream, it is a weak point of mine. It's just design in general. It's just something I want to say I've struggled with, but I guess it's better to say it's just not a strength of mine. My strengths lie elsewhere, I feel. Out of curiosity, have you ever are you ever going to continue your Mass Effect streams? I really want to. It's just that the laptop I was using for them died, and my current gaming laptop isn't strong enough to stream like the previous one was. But like I said, I do want to save up for a proper PC setup, and once I get that going, I'm hoping I can get back to the Mass Effect streams, because I do really, really enjoy them.
You have received a new message.
Oh, thank you, Avina. Thanks, Christian. Bad at character design. You could have fooled me twice. It's not something that comes naturally to me. I've got friends who can like bang out designs just because they were bored. And they'll be like, yeah, I designed this character because I was bored and I felt like it. And that, I'm just like, how? How do you just sit down and think up a guy? That's so wild to me, that you can just sit down and be like, I'm going to come up with a guy. And then they come up with a guy. And I'm like, how? How did you do this? Oh no, that's too bright. It's too dark. There we go. Actually, let me... No, that's too pink. Maybe purple? Meh. Push it here. No, that's not gonna look good. Yeah, that's better. Okay. It's true, even at Disney, unless they had a Tyrus Wong or a Chris Sanders at their disposal, they avoided watercolor backgrounds. Yeah, oh, that's the other thing I can talk about. I was speaking to my friend about Snow White, because obviously the remake came out, and I mentioned that I have no idea. Hey, 80-year-old woman. Hey, 80-year-old man and 80-year-old woman are here today. I mentioned to my friend that I have no idea how Disney did this effect. Let me get the image so I can show you guys. Snow White. That's a typo, but it'll fix it. It's fine. Oh, yeah, this one. So I'll copy paste this image so you guys can see. Copy image, go here. Let's just go to my sketches and drop it here. I couldn't figure out how in 1937 they did this effect, where it's got she's looking down into the well, and there's the shimmering effect of the water of the well, but then also there's rings that happen as drops of water are falling onto the water, and then it obviously it makes rings. And I was sitting there and I realized I have no idea how they did that in 1937. Like I had absolutely no concept of how that was done. So I realized that that's probably information that would be in The Illusion of Life, which is a book that was written in 1982. And then I went onto the local Amazon, which just opened up, I think last year or so. Amazon has never really been in my country before. But I checked on our local Amazon just on a whim. I'm like, I wonder if they'd have it. And they did. But they only had one copy and it was in stock. So I immediately grabbed it. So I'm very happy. I should have bought The Illusion of Life like years ago. But The Illusion of Life, it's always sold out or unavailable or currently out of print. Or it's only available in America. So the shipping price is horrendous. But I finally got a copy of The Illusion of Life. So I'm very, very happy about that. And it did actually answer my question of how they did this effect. The water is distortion glass. And then what they did is they hand animated using lacquer with no line work at all. So it was basically gel, I suppose, which they then hand animated. Oh, thank you, Avina. And that's how they did that effect. So yes, The Illusion of Life did actually answer my question. Thanks, Ultimate Tiebreaker. I used a website called Hero Forge that lets you make 3D models for tabletop miniatures. Not infinitely customizable, but I can't stop playing with it. Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean. That's probably like Picrew. I don't really use Picrew anymore, but oh, thank you, Avina. I imagine it's similar, where you can just sit there and just play with it for like hours and hours on end. Thanks, Classics for Real. Try finding Big Eyes Small Mouth Volume 1 unabridged. I have heard of that, but I can't remember why. But yes, finally got a copy of The Illusion of Life. Answered my question almost immediately. And I haven't sat down and read it cover to cover yet, but I've read certain parts that were interesting. Like I read a lot about the multiplane camera, just because I really liked the multiplane camera. And it was really funny listening to the interview with one of the camera operators for the multiplane, because he sounds like he has like serious PTSD or something. He's just sitting there ranting about what a pain the multiplane camera is and like how annoying it was to operate. It's really funny. So very, very happy with that purchase. Happy I could finally grab the book. It's a little shameful it's taken me this long, but like I said, I just couldn't find availability of it before. But I got it now, so that's fine. And like I said, if I do the comparison between the live action Snow White and the making of the original, it's going to be invaluable because it has like first-hand accounts of the making of that film. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for like the sanitized Disney version of like, oh, it was so amazing. It was so amazing that this movie got made. And I can't believe that in the 30s, they managed to put something together that's so magical. Like, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in Disney sitting there and telling me how incredible they themselves are, and essentially using the original Snow White as a marketing tool. Because that kind of talk inevitably leads to them going, here at Disney, we have tried our best to keep the spirit of Walt Disney alive, which is why we use the neural network for Wish. You know, things like that. I'm not interested. It's so annoying. So I'm far more interested in like first-hand accounts where it's just the draftsman who actually did the work who are explaining their methods. That's what I want to read about. And I found some like incredible pictures of Walt while I was looking for footage, because there is a lot of photos of Walt that we've all seen because they use them as like marketing material. But there's photos of Walt where I don't even really know what he's supposed to be doing in the photo. There's one where I think he's trying to be like a bank robber, like he's joking around. I think it's at a party, it looks like, and he's just joking around like he's a bank robber or something, and it's really funny. I'm like, I don't know what he's doing in this photo. And there's like other photos which Disney does not like using for publicity, because it's Walt like in the sweat box and he's smoking like next to an ashtray that's just a mountain of cigarettes and things like that. Like, again, that's what I'm interested in, because it's far more accurate to the reality of the making of the film than the sanitized Disney version where everything was just very, very magical and we were all so blessed and we're trying so hard to continue Walt's legacy and blah blah blah, and it's just nonsense to try and sell you the product. Which I don't like. I don't like it when people are fake to me. I really, really hate it when people are fake, which is also why these interviews often drive me nuts, because it's so fake, a lot of it. And it's like, good heavens. I'm glad that I just kind of do the work side of animation where I just make the cartoons, because if I had to be one of those people that sits in front of a camera and has to like sell the product, I would just lose my mind. I would just go insane. One of my favorite commercials is Finding Nemo. The inside of the movie is incredible. Oh, I have to look that up. I know that the making of for Finding Nemo is very funny. We had to watch it when I was in college. There's a really funny moment where one of the animators is talking about the fact that they had to actually go snorkeling in Australia in the Great Barrier Reef to get a reference material, just to kind of build up a mental image of what the Great Barrier Reef is like. And you can tell it was super traumatizing for him, because he's like running his hand over his hair and over his face, and he looks like he's just come back from the war, and he's like, yeah, it was so magical getting to see these animals in their natural habitat. And I'm like, dude, you look like you need therapy. You look like you've been through it. So that like lives in my head rent free, because my lecturer Kelvin was like, yeah, you can tell this was not a fun experience for this man whatsoever. Which is really funny to me. I feel bad for him, but it's also really, really funny in like retrospect, because he's like singing the praises of the experience, and it's like, dude. And the other really enjoyable thing that I've seen in making ofs is in the making of for The Lion King, where they're talking about the initial idea for The Lion King, which was, as they've said many times, it's lions in Africa and they kind of want to do Hamlet. And they have this great clip of a very young Chris Sanders, who I don't know whether he was one of the... No, he wasn't an animation director, but I think he was like a lead animator on the movie. And there's a great clip of him in the making of where they're talking about doing Hamlet in Africa with lions. And Chris Sanders is like, and I was just like, we're not really going to do that, right? That sounds like a terrible idea. And it's just really funny. And I wish that modern making of supplemental material had that kind of realism to it, where people are allowed to just talk about the reality of making the film. Because I think it's far more interesting and fun than everything was amazing, oh, we're so privileged to have this legacy to live up to, and etc. and blah blah blah, where I really don't care, because it just ends up being a lot of word salad. Your home is welcome home, Monster Slurpee. I mean, he got to take a snorkeling trip to Australia and say it was for business purposes. Sounds pretty sweet to me. Probably, but if that guy had like thalassophobia, oh, thank you, Vina. I imagine it might have been the worst day of his life. Like, just the absolute terror this poor man had to go through. And he can't say no because he's one of the animators. He has to do it. He can't be like, no, I've got a phobia or whatever. He has to go snorkeling in the middle of the ocean. Thanks, Christian. Christian says, yeah, the patterns and textures of the Great Barrier Reef and other undersea habitats have really triggered my mild trypophobia. Yeah, that I can see. It doesn't really for me, but I know what you mean. Because mine gets triggered by insect hives mainly. It's mainly insect things that get to me. But yeah, you don't really see that in making ofs anymore. And I saw somebody online say it's because these big movie companies realized that the making ofs themselves could be marketing tools. So instead of actually being the making of, they end up being just more tools to try and sell the movie. I don't know whether I've done this properly on the water here, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll just cope. A little better. Maybe if I do it like this, just do it like that, and maybe if I blur it a bit. Because I'm kind of working blind, I'm not really using reference, which isn't very good. But whatever, good enough. Do that, and I will throw some shadows on them. This is my, yes. What's this? Oh, that's the pencil line. So do this. Overlay, I think should be fine. And no, it's multiply, not overlay. Multiply, there we go. Brush. Make it big. Oh no, that's too big. And just kind of do that. Might be a bit dark. To do that. Do that. Just put them on. Oh no, it has to be under them, otherwise it doesn't really work. Do that, and then we go filter, blur, motion blur. What angle are you? Okay, that's fair enough. Let's up the strength. There we go. Just kind of do that, and erase soft. There we go. Oh, and turn off the reference, and then we'll crop it like that. There we go. Oh, thank you, Avina. Classics for Real says, John Lasseter says phobias are just skill issues. Did he really say that? I have to ask, because, like, he might have. John Lasseter is a guy. He sure is a person. I saw somebody. Puff, have you heard of Warhammer 40k? I absolutely have. I have a friend who's, like, really into it. And he was very happy because he said that the new, I forget what it's called, but like the new video game was very good, which he was very happy about. And I saw that people were saying they just like lost so many hours of their life. Is it Rogue Trader? Is that the new one? I know there is no, is it Rogue Trader? I think so. I don't know if that's the new one, but I do know that that's the one that some people that I follow on Tumblr are like big fans of. Which doesn't mean anything in terms of when it came out, because the game could have come out like 40 years ago and people would be talking about it on Tumblr. We all know that one guy who's really into Warhammer 40k. It's true, but like from what I understand, it's like got very rich lore. So that's kind of where the appeal lies. It's not so much in a singular plot or a singular character. It's more to do with the lore itself, which I fully understand, because that's what Dragon Age was for me before the bad times happened. What else can I do to this? Oh, we'll throw a little overlay on top of it, and we might have to draw something else because I think I drew this very quickly and it's only been like an hour and that is not an adequate amount of stream time. Oops, no, we need this to be overlay. Yes. It's a little harsh. Just bring it down a bit. And we will just make this a little pinker up here. Yeah. There we go. Do that. And, oh, I should probably hit save before we move on to something else. Just save this. And now we can stop something else. Thanks Classics for Real. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. Did I Oh, okay, good. I thought I accidentally blocked you. It's a joke, but John Lasseter is a jerk. Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure, because I can actually see him saying that. Apparently, he has a new movie out. I saw somebody make a video talking about it, but I haven't actually watched the actual film itself. Let me just do this. Let me copy it, and then let me save file. Create new from clipboard. There we go. We can throw this away. How big is this? Yes, that's the right size. Let's give it the paper color. Okay. So what else are we thinking in terms of what to draw? I saw before I started the stream, some people were saying like a Sailor Moon character maybe, which I mean we can do. I just mustn't go too crazy with the coloring and stuff like I tend to do. I get like involved in what I'm drawing, and then I'll sit here for like 4 hours on a picture, which really should only take 2. Have you seen the Win or Lose movie? I saw clips and it looks like that Grubhub commercial. I have not. No, I'm not super familiar with that one. We don't have Grubhub here. Tiger's Eye? Ooh, we can do Tiger's Eye, maybe. I see Pupuran. Maybe. I mean, we can do her. She was always my favorite in terms of like the designs of the Amazons. Actually, let me just change this canvas orientation because I don't like it. Drag this down a bit. There we go, that's better. And then just do this. Okay. We can do Pupuran, or we could do Tiger's Eye, or we could do Fish Eye. I always liked Fish Eye for obvious reasons. No, I just think Fish Eye is like a genuinely interesting character. One of the Sailor Moon cats, if you haven't done them already. We could do like human Luna. We did the cats before as cats, but I've never drawn human Luna on stream before. So we could do that if you guys are interested. Can you do a poll in chat? That's a good idea. Let's do that. How do I do that? I know I've done it before. Ah! Just took the chat away. Chat filter image. No. Chat. No. Goal. I'm not sure how to do this, honestly. Can I do it in desktop? Let me have a look. Live streaming. I can donate to myself for some reason. Oh, here we go. Moderation, pop-up chat. No, not here. What's... Oh, here we go, here we go. Start a poll. So, which Sailor Moon character? And we'll say Tiger's Eye, or Run, or human Luna, or do we have anyone else that we want to add at all? Wait, the cats have human form? They absolutely have human forms. Human Luna is really, really cool. So, no, I didn't want to add that option. There we go. So, I don't see anyone else in Tuxedo Mask. No. So we'll just add that poll. And I think it should be added. Yeah, there we go. Yay, I did it. I don't know squat about Sailor Moon, so I got nothing. Yeah, no worries. Just put that back. And see who is in the lead. Not an end poll. Human Luna is in the lead at the moment by like 80%. So I'll let it run for a bit, but it looks like she might take it. Oh, Chibi Chibi. Sorry, I forgot to add Chibi Chibi. I actually saw somebody mention that before the stream started. Zoicide. You only remember Tuxedo Mask because of Ray from... I don't know what that stands for, but it immediately made me think of that clip from the Sailor Moon dub where everybody is just like screaming for a minute straight. Which, that moment just lives in my head rent-free at all times. I remember seeing a design where Luna was a Sailor Scout and it looked very pretty. That is from the live-action show. So we're 1 minute in. I'm going to end the poll because Human Luna is like at 80%. So I think we're drawing Human Luna. Let me just grab some reference. Although that is a good point. Do we draw Human Luna from the movie or do we draw her Sailor Scout form? I think I might have drawn her Sailor Scout form before. Not sure. I think so. He is Tuxedo Mask. I don't believe it. Yeah, actual dub quote. That quote's iconic, but there's a lot of like really iconic quotes from the Sailor Moon dub in like not a good way. This image is tiny, but I'll just use it. It's fine. I go here, paste. That's like the smallest image imaginable, but it's fine. We'll just deal with it. Dub Luna, where she is an old lady. You know what? That like physically hurt me when I watched it the first time because I didn't see the show first. I saw the movies first. And the second movie, which I really, really liked, has her like, it's where this is from. And she falls in love with this human dude. And for reasons that will never be adequately explained to me, they decided to keep her old lady voice. So you have like this British nanny sounding old lady falling in love with like this young 20-year-old. And it's beyond bizarre. It's like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Oh, thank you, Avina. Thank you, Classics for Real. I should have super chatted Cat from High Guardian Spice in human form. You mean, I think I did draw her before. What the hell was her name? The cat girl. This isn't a slight against High Guardian Spice. I just can't remember what she's called because I'm terrible with names. Olive, thank you. That was it. I think I've drawn Olive before. It'll be on the other computer, but I'm pretty sure I've drawn Olive. What pose should I go for? Let me think. Oh, I know. Yes. Okay, I've got it. Do this. Do this. His head's going to be a little bigger if that is the proportions. That goes off screen. And this one, Naoko like really likes drawing these very feminine poses when it comes to the arms especially. I remember reading a very long time ago that Naoko got her education from like fashion design, but that might not have been true. It might just simply be it's because she likes fashion design so much, but that's why her characters look the way they do. It's because she's highly inspired by fashion design sketches. And I think it also, I want to say affects. I feel it also made why a lot of her posing is the way it is. I actually really like Naoko's art, obviously, but like genuinely, it's very good. Oops, my knuckle brushed my phone. Yeah, that's good. And I don't know why Naoko gave her like these two pom-poms like right over her chest though. That's a very weird design choice to me. I don't know whether it comes from a dress that she really likes, because she really enjoys taking inspiration for her outfits from dresses. Very often she'll just like draw the character in the dress, but there are times when she'll adapt the dress a little bit. It's like one of the things that makes me really have to reevaluate how I feel about like references and copying things in cartoons and such, because I really like Sailor Moon, but Naoko does or has done the exact thing that I don't like Western shows doing, where she will just wholesale draw designer outfits that'll become like iconic looks for the characters. And it's like, why is that okay, but I get bent out of shape when She-Ra just copies the entire climax of Utena. And it's something I've had to like either make peace with it, or I've had to try and rationalize it for myself. And I think it kind of boils down to the fact that with Sailor Moon, at least Naoko is taking inspirations from like real world fashion rather than copying an existing fictional character or a existing plot for her thing instead. And I think that's where the distinction lies for me. But I do acknowledge that that is a criticism people might apply to my constant nagging about Western media copying a lot of anime wholesale. It's like, okay, well, why is it okay when Naoko does it, but it's not okay when Sophie Campbell does it, or when Rebecca Sugar does it? And I think that's where the distinction lies for me. But like I said, if people have like issue with that, I kind of understand, because I do feel it might be a bit of a double standard on my part. But I do think because it's inspiration from real world clothes, there is a bit more leeway to it than that. And also the fact that the Princess Serenity dress especially, I forget who made the dress. I forget which fashion designer actually designed the dress. Like, I don't know if it was Dior or if it was, I don't think it was Versace. Like one of those like really, really big high fashion designers came up with the dress. They can't acknowledge the Sailor Moon Princess Serenity dress too much because, you know, there's legal stuff involved and such. But I know for a fact there was a recent display of the dress that inspired the Princess Serenity dress. And then behind that dress, there was a dress that very, very, very much resembles what Tuxedo Mask wears. And to me, that was kind of them like acknowledging it without acknowledging it. And I feel it was a way to just kind of be like, yeah, we acknowledge that our work inspired Sailor Moon, and we can't say anything about it because of legal stuff, but we're not that upset about it, kind of thing. Was it Dior? Yeah, I think it was Dior. If I like picture what the dress looks like in my head, it feels like it matches Dior's aesthetic, if I can put it that way. Of course, when I think of Dior, I always think of like Grace Kelly in Rear Window. Like that is the first thing that pops into my head, is the dress that Grace Kelly wears in Rear Window. I don't even know if that is Dior that she's wearing, but that like dress cut is what I think of. Let me actually pay attention to what I'm doing here, instead of trying to remember high fashion designer names. There we go. Do this. Do this. Yeah, it's good. And I'm not going to give her the massive anime eyes because just in my style, it can look a bit too... So we're going to try and rein that in a little bit. Here we go. I have drawn like in Naoko's actual art style before. I remember when they announced the Switch port for Undertale and they showed off like Meow Meow Kisukuri's outfit. Like I did fan art of that in Naoko's style, but I had to like sit down and like really take a good hard look at her art to be able to kind of adapt it. And it wasn't really her work, it was more Tadano's work on the anime than it was Naoko, but you know what I mean. I feel like you still have to respect it by not being too derivative. Yeah, that's also the thing, right? Because I do think that the Princess Serenity dress, it is rather derivative. Again, it's one of those like difficult questions where I have to consider that I might have a double standard there just because this is the thing I like, you know, which is unfair, but I just kind of have to acknowledge that that is a bias I have. That eye is not a good shape. And it's difficult, right? It's a difficult thing to try and like do mental gymnastics about in your head to like rationalize it. Do this. That's a little better, yeah. Do this. I might have to grab just a drink of soda. Give me a sec. Speaking of your thoughts on references and inspiration, I've been wondering, what are your thoughts on Dan Dan Dan, since it's kind of another case of being openly inspired by other media. I need to sit down and like watch it. It's been on my list for quite a while now. I heard it's really, really good, but I would have to sit and see how it plays out. Ah, there we go. I was talking about Speed Racer earlier. That was the other thing, and why I also want to look into Tatsunoko a bit more, is because it seems to me that I forget the creator. I know his first name is Tatsu, but I forget what his last name is. He was very much obviously inspired by Western media in a way that Tezuka wasn't, because Osamu Tezuka was inspired by Western media like Disney. He really liked Bambi was his very, very big inspiration. And I don't like Bambi's the one that always comes up with Tezuka. Mainly because it was the one that his parents had a film reel of in the 40s. So that was his like big inspiration. But Tatsunoko, the designs seem much more inspired by superhero media, I suppose. It feels more rooted in that look than it does Disney. So I would like really like to dig deep into Tatsunoko Productions and like where the influences came from, because I think it's really, really interesting. Again, doing this instead of watching Velma. I was going to say, I remember last stream I made a joke that I gave you guys like a homework assignment of something you need to watch. But genuinely, if you haven't seen The Breakfast Club, that's like my homework assignment this stream is you need to sit down and watch The Breakfast Club. Hey Thantris, how's it going? It's going good. We drew a capybara earlier, and now I'm just drawing something else because I drew this in like an hour, and that's just not enough time for a stream that's like really, really short. I heard Tatsunoko. Did I miss some dope ninja science team Gatchman? No, we weren't talking about Gatchman. We were talking about Speed Racer, because I was watching episodes for Velma, and then I just kind of kept on watching Speed Racer because it's a lot better than Velma, and it just made me want to fall down the complete rabbit hole of like learning more about Tatsunoko Productions, because it's something I don't know a lot of information about, and it's just a very good way to procrastinate having to sit down and watch Velma. Did you just say Tezuka's parents had a copy of Bambi in the 40s when the two countries were literally at war? Yes! that is a thing that happened. Because Tezuka didn't serve in the war because he was going to medical school. So he was all set up to become a doctor. And because of that, because he was going into the medical field, Tezuka didn't need to go into like active service. And because his parents were wealthy, they had a lot of film reels, which the ordinary Japanese citizen obviously did not have, especially during the war. So Tezuka developed the concept of changing what manga was into serialized stories like one would find in the movies, in American movies, because the Japanese population just did not have the money to go to the movie theater. And because he had this privilege of seeing things like Bambi, because his parents just had film reels of it, he wanted to turn manga into a story format that the average citizen could enjoy stories like Bambi. I think one of his very first manga was actually a manga adaptation of Bambi. it was unofficial. Like these days you couldn't do that because it's absolutely copyright infringement. But that was like how he got started. Like that was the brainchild behind why he wrote and drew manga the way he did. And he was doing that while he was at medical school. And then he just kind of reached the point where he had to make a decision of, do I want to continue my medical career or do I want to focus on making manga? Because manga takes so much time, I cannot do both. And he decided to focus on art instead, which is a massively huge risk. Like, I cannot imagine, like, taking an enormous risk like that on a medium which borderline did not exist at the time. I was reading, what's this book called? Well, I know what the book's called. Who's the author? I have a book called The Drifting Life, which is an autobiography. Let me just get up and see what this man's name is. Hold on. This man's name is... Oh, it's on its side. Yoshihiro Tatsumi. So I have a book called The Drifting Light by Yoshihiro Tatsumi, and it talks about him making manga in the 40s when he was in his last year of high school, and just the way that he and the other manga creators worshipped Tezuka's what Tezuka was doing, because they could see that it was the work of what they felt was like a genius. So when they learned that Tezuka was just a student, it kind of blew them away. It's a very, very good book. I feel it drops a little bit off in the final chapter, but I do highly recommend A Drifting Life. It's fascinating. Lol, so when the Lion... it jumped, hold on. So when the Lion King producers say they did Bambi in Africa... Thank you, Navina. What they meant was Bambi by Tezuka proxy in Africa, kind of. Thank you, Classics for Real fan. No, I don't want to ban them. I want to like the message. So the inventor of the whole anime style actually understood human anatomy. Who knew? Not Rob Liefeld. Hey, Rob is super enthusiastic about comics. I will give the guy that. His anatomy might leave a lot to be desired, but the guy is super passionate about comics. I can't fault him that. But yes, so Tezuka, Bambi was like his huge inspiration for his art style and the way that he wrote stories and all of that. Whereas Tatsunoko, it just, if I look at the art, it looks far more Americanized to me. It obviously isn't. It's very obviously Japanese, but it has more structure. Getting banned? No, I'm not going to ban you. How dare you send me money? Banned. No, if I look at the Tatsunoko Productions artwork that the man himself made, let me grab an image. Speed Racer. It's very clear. It's far more inspired by America and what the art looked like from America than it was Disney, which is what the major inspiration for Tezuka was. So let me copy this image. Oh, I'm zoomed in all the way. Let's go back here and we can paste it here. So just the way that he just draws human figures in general, it just feels a lot more Western to me than what Tezuka was doing. And Tezuka eventually opened his own manga school. And so a lot of manga in the 60s looks very much like Tezuka's approach, even if it's a slightly different art style. They tend to follow the same design philosophies. Like, see, look at this. This is obviously a vector of a drawing, but you get what I mean. Like, there's a lot more realism to the human figure. Whereas if you look at Princess Knight, for instance, let me just grab Princess Knight. Yeah, this will do. Copy image, go here, paste. If you look at Princess Knight, there's just far more inspiration taken from like Bambi and the older Disney cartoons. I know that Tezuka really, really liked the Donald Duck comics by Carl Barks. That's where his inspirations came from. Whereas when I look at the Tatsunoko stuff, it feels much more rooted in, like I said, it reminds me of Tintin a lot. I don't know whether Tintin was at all an inspiration, but it feels more leaning towards that than it was what Tezuka was inspired by. And the two were active around the same time. So I think that they kind of developed independently from each other, because they were both making anime and manga around the same time. Also came in late. Who are we drawing? We're drawing Human Luna while I'm talking about Tatsunoko Productions and like Tezuka's influences and things like that, you know, as I do. I've given her quite a large chin, so I might have to reduce this, but we'll see. No, that's too small. I've been trying to change how I draw mouths, specifically on female characters, but it requires me to use like a lot of reference just to kind of bring a little bit more realism to it, but I'm not going to do that in this image. Have I watched Speed Racer 2009 yet? No, because when it came out, everybody said it was really bad, and it was only in recent years where people have like reevaluated it and said like, no, it's actually a really, really good film. So I need to sit down and actually make time to watch it, because people are like, no, it's genuinely good. It's worth giving some attention to. But also, I feel, should I watch more of the original cartoon before I like watch the Wachowski siblings version? Yeah, see, I'm not too happy with this, but we'll see. Let me just see. I'm not super happy with this. Let me see if I can just change it up. This is the problem when you try and develop your art style in a slightly different direction. Sometimes you get caught in like this awkward in-between period where you're not happy with anything you do. I love Speed Racer 2009. It's like an American tokusatsu film. That's kind of the impression I got. And you know what? From what I understand of the Wachowski siblings, that might actually have been the literal inspiration, because they're like super into Japanese media beyond just like, oh, anime, you know, like they actually really care about a lot of Japanese production in a way that wasn't really a thing in Hollywood in 2009. Wait, I think I know what I want to do. I mean, we could do that. Oh, I see what the problem is. Hold on. Do this. Ah, it's too much. There we go. Kind of just get some smile into the eyes as well. Might help. Still not happy with it. Actually, let me try. I'll just go back to the way I've been drawing mouths before. Yeah, it's better. Here we go. Where's my IRL lasso tool? We're talking about Speed Racer again, huh? Yeah, it's just a lot more interesting than talking about Velma. Have you seen I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl? I have seen it. Somebody asked me on Tumblr my thoughts about it, and I said what I said before, where I don't really like reviewing indie animation because it's a little bit like punching down. You know what I mean? Even if I have positive things to say about it, I can't evaluate it in the way I can like something made by a huge studio. Especially in the case of I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl, where Kiana said on her Tumblr that she did not intend for it to be this massive 2 million views video. She essentially made it to show people, yes, but just to kind of get an idea down and as a physical thing she could see. She didn't intend for it to get these millions and millions of views, illustrated very much by the fact that the script of the pilot she said on her Tumblr is a first draft. She didn't like rewrite the script multiple times or anything like that. So I don't think it's something where it's fair for me to sit and like say, this is, I kind of have a problem with, and I'm not entirely sure about X, Y, and Z, because that's not the aim of the pilot. It's not aiming to be a highly polished studio level piece of animation in terms of writing or production value. So that's why I don't want to like sit here and be like, I'm not a big fan of this, and I'm not entirely sure about this, because it's just, I think, unfair. I think that in terms of technical skill, it's really, really good. The animation, well, it's not even animation. The animatic, in terms of being an animatic, is high quality. It's I don't even want to say production level quality, because I've seen storyboards for some productions that look way worse than what the pilot does. Especially because I was grabbing some for the Velma video, because I actually talk about production for quite a while in Velma, and just the level of skill in the I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl short is like an insane level, which I know Kiana works in the industry. I think she actually is like art director or something, but it really shows. It really shows that she really knows what she's doing. So I will say that it looks great. It's really good. I have a few quibbling problems from a writing standpoint, and there are certain concerns in regards to the concept, but it just feels unfair to sit here and be like, oh well, I think that this could be a bit more like this and blah blah blah, because it's like, no, that's not what the pilot's trying to do. That's not the point of it. So I don't want to sit here and be like meh about it, but I do like it. I will say that I do like it, and apparently there are talks for it to get developed into a full show, and I would like to see it as a full-blown production. I think that would be very cool. And I'm interested to see how it gets developed for television. If it gets a full series, I think that would be very interesting. And Kiana is just a fantastic character designer. Like, her designs are really good, and I think the designs for I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl are just very appealing, and the color use is really nice. And for the one scene in the pilot that is animated, I do really like how the colors are balanced in terms of that. Aika is the main character, right? Aika's colors, which are very much these bold yellows, they look so nice against the backgrounds, which have a lot of lavender and purple and gray in them, and it just looks really good. So yeah, I would very much like to see more of it, despite some concerns I have with it. It's not even complaints or criticisms, it's literally just concerns. But again, I don't want to sit here and pretend like Kiana should have made an Oscar-winning short for something which she literally did just to get her ideas onto paper, because that's not fair. Wait, what's the difference between animatic and just animation? Animatic, I don't have my files in here. And animatic is when you take the storyboard images and you digitize them if it's done on paper, or you take the JPEGs and PNGs or whatever it's exported as, and then you apply them to a video timeline, and you time out the action that the animation is going to take based on the audio scratch track. So basically you time out what pose happens at what point in the scene, which might be a very technical way to explain it. I'm not entirely sure how understandable that is. And I mean, I can kind of try and show it with Streamlabs. Maybe, hold on, maybe I can find this. Sorry, this is an entire side quest here, but this is a very good example of what I mean. If I go here, click this. Not that one, not that one. Here, and then click enter. Just give me a sec because I want to show this because it's just genuinely interesting. CG still frames. If this takes too long, I'm just going to, you know, not show this. Where on earth am I going to find it? I can't find it. There is, I have it on my other computer. I've got some of the animatics for Shadow Generations, the prologues that they made. And those animatics are really, really good to show what an animatic is supposed to do because they are so rough. It's literally, at some points, Shadow is literally drawn with an open space. He's literally drawn like this. And they just have like the various basics of posing, but the movement is completely, she's looking at him. The movement is completely planned out, like to the frame of where a pose has to hit. And it just kind of really is a very good way to show what the function of an animatic is, because it's the planning out of the animation without being full animation quality. And the way that Kiana does storyboards, her storyboards are very clean. Like, it's very, very clear what the character looks like. So when it comes to animation, there won't be that much interpretation of the poses or the expressions, just because the storyboards themselves are already so clear in what it's supposed to look like. Twinkle Nora Rock Me. I mean, I guess that's an animatic if you want to be technical about it. Animatics are like animation if the video was nothing but keyframes. Yes and no. No, you know what? That might actually be a good interpretation, because that is true, that animatics are mostly just the keyframes. They might include breakdowns if it's important. And with like the Shadow Generations animatics that I found, those are almost just the pure animation because there's so much action in those prologues. So they're almost every single frame is already a keyframe. I'm really annoyed that I can't find it just off the top of my head now. Or top of my head, just from a simple Google search, because I really, really liked those. Shadow Generations animatic. Because it's uploaded to a Boru, but it's one of those Borus where you have to be like word accurate or it doesn't show you any results. Yeah, no, this is just frames from the thing itself. I might use it like specifically in the Velma video though, instead of what I was thinking of using instead, just to kind of explain what I'm talking about. I've kind of got this the wrong way around though. This is supposed to be this part of the arm. That's better. Is her hand too small? It's a little small. Hold on. My introduction to what animatics was fan-made ones to Hamilton songs. I mean, those are kind of animatics, but it's not production. That's too big. It's not production level animatics, so I wouldn't take those as a production level example of what an animatic is. What I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl looks like, that is far closer to what a production level animatic looks like than the Hamilton fan ones. If all else fails, find Making of Iron Giant. I suppose so. I was just really a fan of the Shadow Generation ones because they're so rough and scratchy, and yet they get the idea across perfectly, and that's why I find them a very good example, because all the movement is extremely clear, even though the character models are basically non-existent. Okay, so she's got, oops, that's too bright. She's got kind of like this. yeah. I'm not going to go like character accurate to this drawing, mainly because it's so small, but also I'm not drawing like 500 strands of hair. There we go. And she's got one this side. Kind of goes like that, yes. Actually, maybe I should bring this down lower. It's better. They explain animatics pretty good. Yeah. I think they do. I haven't watched the making of Iron Giant in such a long time. That one's really interesting as well because of the blend of 2D and CG in that movie, which is one of those movies where if you watch it now, it's a little bit more obvious, but when it came out, I had like no idea the movie had CG in it whatsoever. Which granted, like I was a little young, so my eye for recognizing CG wasn't exactly developed, but it is interesting. It's one of those things where you underestimate just how much CG is in it. Similar to The Road to El Dorado, which sure, a lot of the backgrounds are very obviously CG in The Road to El Dorado, but I did not know that a lot of the crowd shots are actually 3D models. Like, it's not 2D animation of the crowds. The crowd human characters are literal CG models, which I genuinely did not know before. Hiccup. So she has 2 buns. One there and one there. Just there and there. I don't know whether I'll ink her because I think that'll take a very long time because I already drew the capybara. But I will color the pencil work and then we'll do the flats like that. Wait, does she actually... No, her hair just flows out into the long hair in the back. I need to hop off. Movie happening. Enjoy your movie. A production that was very humorous when I learned about it was Hoodwinked. They had table scraps animation budget, but the crap CG is overshadowed by how skilled the writing and staging is. Yes, that is a commonly spoken about film in terms of just making a solid movie when you have like 5 sheets of paper and a napkin in terms of budget. What was it? There was something I was watching recently or thinking about recently. Oh, it was literally, again, I keep talking about it, but it was Speed Racer when I found out that the dub for Speed Racer, every single character in the entire dub is voiced by 4 people. And the people who dubbed Speed Racer, they were given a deadline of they had to dub an episode a day, and Fernandez, I believe his name is, who did the voice for Speed, he had to write the English script as well as voice Speed, and he had to like do the voice directing as well, and he had to like find the people who would dub it for him. It was his responsibility to just find voice actors for it, and they were paid $12 a day. They had to do an episode a day for which they were paid $12. And in fact, they only gave him a budget for 3 people to dub the entire show, but he knew, due to experience working on other shows, dubbing them, that 3 people was not going to be enough. So he talked a friend of his into helping him do the dub, and then he and his friend took a pay cut where they each made $6 a day because they only had budget for 3 people. And that's why the dub for Speed Racer is a lot, that explains why it is the way it is. It's because, oh, you have to dub an entire episode a day. Here's $12. And I mean, yes, it was like the 60s, but even so, even if it was the 60s, that still feels like a criminally small amount of money. A small amount of money? Is that how you say it? I did not drink enough water today, and it clearly shows. And I'm not drinking enough water during the stream either because I've only got sparkling water. And that's not going to be a good time for you guys if I start drinking like essentially gas cool drink on stream. One episode every day for $12 a day. What a ripple. Yeah, and that was the show. I dubbed something for $6 a day. Okay, now I have to draw these pom-poms on her chest, which is gonna look ridiculous, but here we go. They're like carnations or something? Not carnations like the flower, like the things they pin on you when you're like going to prom. What do you call those? Corsage? I want to say? I don't know. We don't have prom here. We have metric dance, which is similar but different. Do that. $12 in 1960 is worth $128 today, which still isn't great. Yeah, and it aired in it aired in Japan in 1967, and it also in America in 1967, so it had to have been dubbed pretty much, you know, within a year of the episodes airing in Japan. So it wasn't even like the early 60s, it was the late 60s. I'm like really rushing this, but it's fine. We'll just deal with it. Yeah, I'll just add that so there's no gaps in between. Actually, let me do this. Here we go, and then we can just do this here, this side. I missed that part. Oh, you're talking to somebody else, sorry. $12 a day, not an hour that includes translating too. Yeah, like the translation, Fernandez did that too himself. Well, he didn't do the translating, he did the script writing. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think he could speak Japanese, so I don't think he did the translating. But I was watching both the American dub and the original Japanese, and the American dub is really accurate to the original Japanese dialogue. So whoever did the translation, they knew how to speak Japanese. It's not like a Samurai Pizza Cat situation where they just made it up based on visual cues. The characters in Speed Racer, they very much say what is said in the Japanese version. These might have to be a bit bigger. Again, these look so... Why did you do this, Naoko? I like the outfit a lot, but I don't understand all of your design choices. Back then, dub were like, do the inflections 1 for 1, or just do whatever. Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't know how many takes they did, because if they're doing an episode a day, there can't be enough time for like screw-ups, right? From what I've seen so far, there aren't a lot of screw-ups. Like, it's not like... I always go to Oblivion as the example. It's not like in Oblivion where certain voice lines are the flubs. So I don't think Speed Racer has flubs in it, but I can't imagine there was a lot of time for mistakes. I think the funniest part of Ghost Stories is the fact that they knew Japanese and still did that. That is hilarious. Ghost Stories is iconic. I don't know whether I prefer Ghost Stories' approach to dub or Samurai Pizza Cats, because Ghost Stories, like you said, they knew Japanese and they just decided to do the dub like that because the original anime was just so boring. Nobody cared. But with Samurai Pizza Cats, they had no idea what the characters were saying. because they weren't given scripts. They weren't given translations. They were just given the raw anime, and they were like, here, dub this. And they were like, we don't know what they're saying. And it's like, tough, just do it. So they just had to like come up with nonsense. Which kind of, it really enhances the experience of watching Samurai Pizza Cats. Like, knowing that makes Samurai Pizza Cats so much more entertaining to watch. No, that's a bit too small. Hold on. I think I might have also drawn it a little low. Let me push this up a bit. Yep. Put it here instead. Because she doesn't have like a bow tie. It's one of those ribbons that like droops down. Maybe if I do it a bit rougher and then add the details in afterwards, it'll go better. That's better. $12 in the mid-60s would be a little over $100 today. Still a criminally low amount for how much work they did. Yeah, because it's not even that... I mean, it's already not a lot of money if you're a voice actor. But then Fernandez... Again, I hope that's the man's name. I hope I'm remembering correctly. He got paid $6 a day. And he also had to write the scripts. And he had to, like, come up with names for the characters, like Americanized names. And he had to do all of that. I don't know if he got paid for that, or if that was just like, yeah, you get paid $6 and you have to do all of that as well. Samurai Pizza Cats is getting a game sometime soon. Yes, it is. And apparently they have the original voice actors for the American dub for the Samurai Pizza Cats game, which is incredible. Like, that alone will make me buy the game. I don't know whether the game will be good or not, but just because it includes the original dub voice actors, I am interested. You've sold the game to me. That is fantastic and makes me so happy. Okay, now, where does this start? It's quite low down, so I don't know whether we're going to see the edge of the dress here. I mean, I could, like, just give it a few ruffles here. Like that. Yeah, let's do that. Just kind of suggest that they're there. Do that. And then I can, like, bring the darker dress that's underneath through like that. Yeah, that'll work. And it's sleeveless. So, oh, no, she has the moon necklace. Yeah, I forgot. So she has the moon necklace. There's so much going on up here. I'm noticing that now. It's so busy at this part of the dress. It's probably better in the original anime just because her figure is so elongated, so the balance isn't as crazy. But looking at it here, there is a lot going on. I might push the moon necklace to be a little lower, just so that it's not also hanging in between all of this going on at the same time. Oh wait, that's a bit big. Do that. Once we discussed Tezuka earlier, would you recommend Phoenix? Let me just get, it's doing the thing where the emoji is in the way. Would you recommend Phoenix 2772? Would you say he maintained the bar of his art in a 2-hour format? I've not watched the anime of Phoenix. I have a few of the manga. I have issues, which ones are those? 12? 13? Again, let me just get up and have a look. Which issues of Phoenix are these? If I can get that far. Okay, it's volume 2, volume 12. Okay, volume 2, volume 12, volume 10, and volume 11. Those are the ones I have of Phoenix. And I need to reread them because it's been like over a decade since I read them. They're really interesting. I think some of them are better than others because like Phoenix volume 2 is far more for children than Phoenix Volume 10, which is really, really adult. And Phoenix is very, very interesting because certain volumes, they're kind of all standalone, but then at the same time, they kind of interconnect. It's very, very strange. So some volumes of Phoenix will be sci-fi, and then some volumes of Phoenix will be historically Japanese, and some of them will like cross over where they'll be both. It's really fascinating. But I don't think he finished Phoenix. I don't think Phoenix ever ran to its conclusion so we could see how it all comes together at the end. Because I know Tezuka didn't finish Buddha. I don't think he finished Buddha, at least. No, he didn't. I'm pretty sure he didn't finish Buddha. So Phoenix you kind of have to take on a volume by volume basis, which works fine because that means that before manga was like very easy to just find online, I could buy copies of Phoenix and not worry about the number because they all kind of just stand alone. I think volumes 10 and 11 follow up on each other, either that or volume 11 and 12, and that's why I have both of those. But very, very interesting. Again, I need to reread them though. I think that Apollo's song made a bigger impression on me than Phoenix did. Apollo's song is so sad. It's such a sad manga, but it's probably one of my favorites that Tezuka has done. Although I like Twin Knights, which is like the sequel to Princess Knight. That one's very good as well. And like Unico is pretty good too, but I think I only like Unico because it's in color, so it just sells the story a lot more. But I think in terms of like actual storytelling, I think Apollo's song is probably the best. I also have what's it called, Ayoko. Ayoko is interesting, but again, I think I prefer Apollo's song. And then I've got MW, or MV as it is in the Japanese. That one is interesting. It's very good, but it's very, very 70s. It's like very obviously inspired by like Yakuza films and pink films of the 70s and such. It's like very much of that time. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I don't want to inco because we'll be here all night, but I'm going to do what I did in some of my other art. So I'll just do that, and I'll just duplicate this, turn this off, and now I will just erase. No, that's brush. Where's erase? Here we go. Grab hard erase, grab this. Erase this, erase that. There we go. Why not just have that under the viewing option? Why have both versions separately? What's this now? I missed which show / anime you're talking about, because I was too busy going on about Tezuka and his manga. I really like Tezuka's manga. Like genuinely, they're really good. I actually have both copies of Adolf, I think it's called. Yes, it is called Adolf. I've got both copies of Adolf, but I need to be like in the right mind frame to read Adolf because it's really upsetting for obvious reasons. It's a really upsetting manga. Unico had me intrigued as well, but its anime adaptations seem to have more disjointed releases. The anime release of Unico, I think, is a pretty good representation of what the manga is like. And the anime has the advantage of being animated by Sanrio before they went headlong into merchandising with Hello Kitty. So the animation in Unico is really, really high quality. Because it's like, it's Sanrio when they were doing, what is it called? Like, Firechild and, no, it's Fire Prince and Airchild, something like that. I forget the exact name of the film, but it's like that. And then they did the 2 Unico films. And then they did, again, Ringing Bell, I think it's called. The one with the sheep whose mother is killed. Sea Child, thank you. The one where it's the sheep whose mother gets killed by a wolf. and the wolf raises the sheep's lamb, and then the lamb takes revenge on him. Very, very interesting. Like, that's what Sanrio was doing before they like threw themselves headlong into just doing Hello Kitty stuff. Like, that's the stuff they used to get up to. And they did the 2 Unico movies, and they're very interesting in that they're animated less like an anime and far more like an American animated film. So they've got far more fluid animation, is what I mean. It feels higher budget. It's similar to Metropolis, the animated film, where it just feels a lot more fluid and a lot more expensive, I want to say, even though that's not entirely true. But it's more that kind of animation than it is traditional anime, which is far more limited animation. It's still very good animation, but it's not so much focused on movement as it is posing. Tomorrow is my birthday, by the way. What did you guys get me? Happy birthday in advance. I got you a rant on Tezuka. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. The other thing, just to like backpedal to Velma, I make an offhanded comment at some point in the video about metal, just the music genre, and it's not really anything. It's just to kind of be like, well, I am not familiar with this, but that makes sense if you know the music I listen to. And I was trying to find examples, like visual examples of bands I listen to. And I originally thought I would go with Powerwolf because Powerwolf is a very theatrical band, so their visuals are really cool. But I was like, yes, but what if I don't want to use Powerwolf? What if I want to use a different band? So then I was like, maybe I should use Sabaton because I really like them a lot too. And I was like, yes, I could use the clip of Joachim doing the hammer because I really, really like that move. But then I was like, yes, but he does that in Bismarck, and everybody has heard the song Bismarck. That's like their #1 hit. I should use something a bit more recent. So then I went onto their YouTube channel, and I'm looking at their recent songs, and then I'm like, oh yes, a few months ago, they released 1916, and I haven't listened to it yet because I know it's a gut punch. I should listen to that now. So then I listened to 1916, and I just ruined my day. Like, that song made me so sad. I was so emotional for like the rest of the day. My entire like week just went down the tubes because this stupid song. And then what's terrible is the reference that I make in the Velma video, I ended up cutting it from the script because it ended up being just a waste of time and being off topic. So I emotionally compromised myself for no reason. Which it's a good song and I will listen to it again, but it's just like, yeah, I put myself through the emotional ringer for like no reason. So, you know, that was also part of my week. And it's not even, I can't even really blame Velma for doing that psychic damage to me. Like, that is entirely my own fault. But like I said, really, really good song. If you want to ruin your life for a week, I highly recommend it. And that's her hair, so that's fine. Oh, and then I just want to erase this here. And oh, and then I want to just remove this here because it's going to look ugly. There we go. And then I need to remove this and just remove this here. There we go. So now we lock the transparency. I don't know whether this will carry over. We can just lock the transparency again. Merge layers. Okay, lock transparency again. Now we can do this. There we go. And we can just skip the line art process just because I don't have time. Otherwise, we'll be here until like 2 in the morning for me. And I mean, I can just probably I drop the colors here. I'm going to choose a different yellow though, because this is like a really eye-searing yellow. It's going to be very painful to look at. Emotional damage. Yeah. Great song though. Very, very, very good. But yeah, for some reason I decided it was a good idea to listen to it while I'm like trying to work on the script. Again, I'm just like doing things that's procrastinating having to watch or talk about Velma. Traumatizing. 10 out of 10. Would listen again. Exactly. That is the experience. Very much recommend. Again, though, if you know Motorhead, you probably know the song already because it's a cover. But even then, still highly recommend it. Speaking of heavy metal, have you listened to any Epica? Epica is okay. I am not a giant fan of, I call it screamo. I don't even know if that's an actual genre. It's just what I call it. I'm not a big fan of screamo because I find it, I want to say boring, if that makes sense. It's not that it's dull. It's just that there's very little for me to like latch onto mentally. So it just kind of like all blends together in my head after a while. So it becomes like white noise. So I'm not the biggest fan of screamo. This is kind of why I prefer power metal, because there's a lot more melody to it. And I prefer the classically trained singers than I do singers that prefer to go into like screamo or growls. Growls are good when used in, what's the word? Like when you're reserved with the growls, then it can sound very good. But when it's the entire majority of the song, then I just get very bored with it. I need a little bit more than that to keep me engaged in a song. And that's my problem with Epica, which again, it's not a criticism of the band. It's just my personal preference when it comes to metal. I listen to rap and hip hop songs. I'm sorry, I don't know why that was so funny to see in chat. Have you heard any of Angus McSix? It kind of trades the more goofy stuff. I really like Angus McSix. Angus McSix is really funny. I watched them when they were live at Wacken, and there's a great moment where the band pick a random member from the audience and they're like, hey, we're thirsty. Can you guys crowd surf this dude to the beer tent and have him bring us something back, please? It's really, really good. Personally, I like that Epica is kind of subdued with their screams, but fair enough. They're one of my favorite bands, and they did an EP of anime covers, so I thought you might like them. Okay, I will check that out, because that could be very, very interesting. Even if it is like more into the screaming side of metal, just the concept is interesting to me, because I would like to see how they like translate anime intros into that style of music. I couldn't ever tell you why a majority of the songs I like to listen to are Vocaloid songs. No, I get that. I tend to like Vocaloid, but sometimes Miku's voice is a little bit high-pitched for me. And I've said this before, I just have that issue with female singers in general. Sometimes the voice has to be very, very specific. Otherwise, I think it's like a auditory processing thing, which again, I've got ADHD in case you couldn't tell. So I think it ties into that, because I have the same problem with audiobooks where if it's a female reader or narrator, I really struggle to focus. So with Miku, I really like Miku, but I'm very, very specific with which songs I listen to because of that reason. And again, it's not Miku's fault. It's just something I struggle with. It's not super screamy. They use a little bit, but it's mostly classic opera-style vocals. Their cover of Wings of Freedom goes so friggin' hard, would 100% recommend. I was about to say, when you said opera, I was like, do you mean like, what's Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which is another anime I need to sit down and watch. I just haven't because it's like over 100 episodes and I'm really intimidated by the length. But I think it's consistently on like the top most highest rated anime of all time. Like continuously it stays in like the top 10 when it's not getting outclassed by whatever the newest favorite anime of the season is. Here we go. And her hair, I'm not going to grab the mid-tone. I'm actually going to grab the darker tone. No, you know what? I take it back. I am actually going to grab the mid-tone. I was afraid it might not be high contrast enough, but I think it should be fine. Mai Yamane is one of my favorites, female vocalists of all time. It's crazy how good she sings in English. I'll check that out if I remember, because I'm very, very bad with names. But yes, Legends of the Galactic Heroes, that is one that's been on my radar for such a long time, because it sounds very much like the kind of anime that I would really, really enjoy. Because after I watched, what was it, the name? Macross. After I watched Macross, Do You Remember Love? I adore that movie. It is so good. And I was like, I kind of want something similar. And I know Gundam exists. I need to watch the second and third Gundam movies and like move on to the other Gundams like Gundam Wing and Gundam Zeta. It's very good, I hear. But I kind of want something from the same time period as Macross. And Legends of the Galactic Heroes is the one that like really caught my attention. And I know it's a lot of politics. I know it's a lot of politics. But for some reason, I can digest space politics a lot more than I can like historical politics. It's a lot more easy for me to keep track of. I don't know why. Again, I think it's like a skill issue or something. But that's what I was really, really interested in. And you didn't hear this from me, but I found that the entirety of Legend of the Galactic Heroes is on the archive. So, you know, it's there. I know where else to find it, but somebody uploaded it to the archive if you want to grab it before it gets removed. So that was the other thing where I was just like, I need to sit down and watch this. Because this sounds like something I would really like. Original Macross is good, but it drags in places. Yeah, I haven't watched the show. I've only watched Do You Remember Love? And from what I gather, it flows much better as a film than it does a TV series. And when I watched the film, it did not feel like they adapted a TV show into a movie. It just felt like the writing of a movie. Like the pacing and timing of the story just felt like, yes, this was meant for a film format, not a TV show format. Granted, the movie is 3 hours long, but you know what I mean. I'm watching it and 90% of the politics are going over my head, and my takeaway will probably be, haha, his name is Paul. Oh, so like Dune then. Do You Remember Love is this series in a nutshell. Yeah, no, I'm aware of it. But like I said, I just find, as somebody who hasn't seen the show, it just feels like the plot flows better as a movie. Although I am aware of the fact that they had to cut certain storylines either way down or just remove them from the film. But I didn't feel like I was missing context or I was confused about anything. And I didn't feel like the plot rushed itself in certain places. Like I felt like the plot moved at a pace that made sense. Okay, now I'm going to deal with this yellow. Again, I'm not going to use this yellow because it's really bright. And I'm not... See, it's all the way up here in, like, the spectrum. That's horrible. It's like this lemon. Okay, we don't want that. We need it there. That's a better color. Okay, yeah. I don't want it to be this bright lemon yellow. That's too much. A Bovril on wheat. Bovril... One 80-year-old man said Bovril on wheat. And an 80-year-old woman said Bovril on street. What is going on in the chat? Here we go. But yeah, Legends of the Galactic Heroes, that's the one that caught my attention. I think I'm also intimidated by the politics, so it might be another reason I haven't looked into it yet. I started watching episodes of Air while I was watching Velma the very first time. Not for any reason. It was just kind of a way to bribe myself. Like, okay, you can watch one episode of Velma and then you can watch an episode of Air. But I haven't gone back to Air. It's not even that many episodes. It is the most obviously adapted from a visual novel anime I've ever seen in my life. 1916 is a pretty good song. Oh, did you actually like stop and listen to it? Oh, jeez, my condolences. I really like the song, but it hurts. It's really painful. Here we go. I look away for 2 seconds. Bovril on the street and Bovril in the sheets. That's disgusting. That's so gross. Grab this. Oops, that's the eraser. Bovril in the yeet. I just stop and listen to it, yeah. And yeah, it's pretty emotional. Yeah, it's also because apparently, I didn't know this before listening to the song. Apparently the original is written by Lemmy, which I had no idea. So it's got that added extra flavor to it. That's not why it made me emotional, but if you are a Motorhead fan, that's like an added extra layer of emotions in it as well. And again, there was no reason for me to really listen to it. It was mostly procrastination and wondering if I would use it in a video, which I ended up not even doing because I removed the section. So I just did like massive damage to myself emotionally for no reason. Can I be honest? I have no idea what Bovril is. You know what? In Australia, you have Vegemite. Bovril is Vegemite, but made with beef instead of vegetables. It's black, tarry goop that you put on a sandwich that is like 60% salt. And that's what it is. It's like tar. It's really good. It's genuinely very, very good. I don't like Vegemite. It doesn't have enough salt for me. I really like Bovril. But again, because it's like 60% salt. That's vile. Yeah. There is, it's similar to Marmite. Marmite is like the British equivalent of Vegemite that we have. And Marmite had a commercial campaign, which was entirely built upon the fact that you either like Marmite or you hate it. And one of the commercials is a homeless man like begging on the street, and a lady gives him the sandwich that she's about to eat, and then she walks away. And the homeless man takes one bite out of it, and then he throws it at her, and it hits her in the back of the head. And then it just comes up, and it's like, Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. And it's like, yeah, that's accurate. I'm going to make this part a little bit lighter than her hair, just so it's a little bit more coherent what's going on here. There we go. And I think these weird things on her chin, yeah, they're a different shade than her hair, at least. I'm very confused by these things, but it's fine. I guess I just don't understand high fashion. I think that's the problem. You know, me who wears like tie-dye and teal, as many teal items of clothing as possible, I don't understand high fashion. That's my biggest problem with this outfit. You can add more salt? No, you'll die. I never actually looked how much salt is in Bovril and Marmite. It's a lot. And when you open the jar, it's literally, it looks like tar. It's just black, tarry, goopy, a black, tarry, goopy substance is what it is. It's one of those things, if you didn't grow up with it, if you're like from America or such, and you get offered it, you're just going to be like, you're not even going to try it. You'll just look at what it looks like and you'll be like, nah, I'm good. And I wouldn't even fault you. I'm like, yeah, no, that's fair. I don't blame you. Just inject salt into your veins at that point? Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty bad when my complaint with Vegemite is there's not enough salt in it. Do this. What time is it? Oh, it's almost midnight. It's fine. And I started at 9. So that is 4 hours. Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not giving you guys like a really short stream, because I mean, that's not fair, right? I do need to take another drink though, good lord. I'm turning into, I've got like the smoker voice coming on. And drinking caffeinated Pepsi at 11:30 at night is also a brilliant idea on my part, but I mean, we make our own choices in life. Do that. But yeah, I mentioned Air. I've never watched any of the anime based on visual novels. I think that's why I started watching Air, because visual novels not really my kind of thing. But I was curious, and I was like, I'm not going to play a visual novel. That's just a lot of time to sink into something, but I am kind of curious. And when I saw Air is only 12 episodes, I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I started watching it, but it is extremely obvious that it's adapted from a visual novel. Like, even to the point where I think they used the music from the original visual novel in the show. It just kind of has that like JRPG visual novel MIDI quality to it. Like, even never having played one, I know what a visual novel sounds like. And I am convinced that Air must have just used the soundtrack of the original game for the anime. It's not KyoAni's first anime, but I think it's like their second or something. That's the other reason I was curious, because I did want to see like the early work of KyoAni before they like really, really blew up in popularity. Phoenix Wright is my favorite visual novel. Oh, really, Brian? I couldn't tell with your avatar. That being said, Phoenix Wright, I think, yeah, that is a visual novel. I guess in that aspect, I have played or watched a visual novel. Yes, I did. I played the entirety of Phoenix versus Layton, which is way better than it has any right to be. That is a really good game. Really, really good. I really enjoyed that a lot, both from a story aspect and the characters. And it's not even that it's like, oh, it's a Phoenix Wright game and Professor Layton just happens to show up in it. No, both franchises, oh, she also has the moon. Both franchises get equal opportunity to shine in terms of story writing. I was really surprised. Like, they give just as much attention to the Layton characters as the Phoenix Wright characters and vice versa. Really, really good. And I was like, why does this crossover game, why is it this good? Why is this allowed? And I low-key kind of hope they make another one, but I don't know if they will. I need to play some of the later Layton games though, because I really like the early ones that I played. I used to play Hatoful Boyfriend back when it came out. That game was nuts, yeah. I respect it though. Like, I respect the joke that is Hatoful Boyfriend. I fully understand what the joke is. I think that Hatoful Boyfriend is probably a more successful take on being a humorous visual novel dating sim than a lot of these dating sims that come out nowadays and are trying to be a funny dating sim, but I don't feel like they really get it right. I don't want to list something more like that. Yes, that's better. Okay. Miracle Mask? Yes, Miracle Mask. I was about to say I've heard of that. I own Miracle Mask. I need to play it. I've played... no, I haven't played Unwound Future. That's the next one I have to play. I've played Pandora's Box and Curious Village. And then I've played the Layton versus Phoenix Wright one. And they're all really, really good. Oh, and I've seen the movie, the Professor Layton movie, which for a time I was like, this is the best video game adaptation movie that exists. And it's not really true anymore, but for a very long time, I would stand by that statement, that is probably the best adaptation of a video game to movie format that I've ever seen. Let's grab this color because I also need it for her teeth. It's basically the gaming equivalent of a choose your own adventure book, kind of, yes. Where it's more a novel that you read than it is a video game that you play. And then at certain points within the story, you get given a choice where you're like, are you going to go with option A or option B? And then depending on your choice, it goes down a different path. Yeah, I guess choose your own adventure book is the best way to describe it. My voice is suffering. You can tell I've been sitting in silence, working on the script for a long time. So I've been so quiet lately that I'm not used to like talking for an extended period of time. I'll make myself some tea after this stream and it'll be fine. Is this? Yeah, it's all the way into blue. Not blue, into white. There we go. Actually want to do that. There we go. Miracle Mask is such a joy in how they did the environments and music. It's the one I always replay. Yeah, I own it. I just need to, like, again, sit down and play it. I think my DS is still fine. I haven't played it in a very long time. I'm not the biggest fan of handhelds. I used to be a PlayStation person, but ever since Sony has left my country, I mean, you can buy PlayStation here, but there's no support for it really. Ever since that, and the fact that the PlayStation 5 is so overpriced, I've kind of made the transition into just like PC games or like PC ports of games. Also because it's more convenient because I can just like turn them on a laptop. But in terms of handhelds, not really my favorite format. I don't know why, because you'd think it'd be the same thing. You think it would be like, well, you can just play it wherever. But for some reason, I don't find it as enjoyable as PC gaming or like PlayStation. So this skin tone, I think it's similar to this one. Yes, it is. So we'll grab this. I'm not going to go too crazy because as you can see here, let me just get rid of the Tatsunoko thing stuff here. I'm not going to go as crazy as I am here, but I just want to give it a little bit of dimension because otherwise the drawing looks quite dead. It does need a little bit just to pop a little, especially in the skin. And I'm going to color the pencil work here, otherwise it's really harsh. Oh, yeah, I need to do... Yes. That's a bit too much. There we go. And we'll just grab this color. Here we go. No, wait. We need to blend this first. And if I put the top lip there, it's not going to work. Here we go. Grab this. There we go. Oops. And we need a slight pink. Yes. There we go. Just... Oh, thank you, Avina. I like your style better than the OG. Thank you, but also, how dare you? Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Also, I don't like it this side. I just want to blend that in a little bit. Here we go. And where is this one? There we go. And yeah, I don't want to go too crazy there. So I'm not going to add like extra colors to the shadows. I'm just going to, oops, almost knocked over my phone. I'm just going to stick with one shade and then I'll do the same for the hair. Yes. Oh, and I just want to color this because it's really harsh. There we go. Do that, do that. Normally I would do like all the pencil work, but again, that'll take so much time. That just kind of soften this a little bit. There we go. Oh, and I wanted to. Oh, I forgot the whites of this part underneath here. Over here. You don't have to push so hard on the touch screen. Does it? Oh, thank you, Vina. Oh, thank you, Classics for Real Fan. Didn't hear response because I literally better help add. Oh, geez. I said thank you very much. That's really kind of you. But I will also, no, also how dare you? I almost wanted to say I will beat you up, but that's a little harsh. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay, now I need to lock this. Grab the blues, and then I just need to give them a little bit of a darker tint. Right here. I never changed the themes on on my what? Themes on mine. Was too busy playing games. Do you mean the DS? I don't know if I ever changed the theme on my DS. I think I just kind of kept it as is. Because again, playing games. That's good. And then I'm just going to do her hair. And again, I'm not going to go into as much detail as it is here. Or will be here forever. This isn't even a frame from the movie. This is actually a promotional image. That's why it's as detailed as it is. I used the Luigi's Mansion theme on mine. I actually forgot that the DS allowed you, to do like different themes. I think because a lot of them you had to like purchase, and that might be why I never really did the theme, because I like themes in general. On my PS3, I've actually got the Ratchet & Clank theme, where it's not just the Ratchet & Clank wallpaper, it's also like the button, like the sound effects of the buttons themselves all sound like the Ratchet & Clank menu. So I like themes, but I just don't think I ever had one for my DS, and it must have been because you had to purchase them. And I don't think they really converted the price for South Africa, so you had to pay like American prices, which is so expensive in our currency. I think that might have also been part of the reason why, which is really annoying. Nintendo just never really supported my country very well. Like I said, I think the Wii was the very first console, like Nintendo console we got here. We had PlayStation 1 from the get-go, but with Nintendo, sometimes a console or two would have a very, very limited release here. I know some people had a GameCube, and I know some people had a Nintendo 64. I had one, but it was bought overseas and given to us as a gift. That's why we had the N64, so we only had like 2 games for it. But yes, the DS came out here. I don't think we got the Game Boy Advanced. I don't think we ever got that. I had a Game Boy Color growing up, but Game Boy Advance was just not available. And I remember because I was a big fan of Kingdom Hearts when that came out originally. And I remember being so angry that the direct sequel to Kingdom Hearts was Chain of Memories, and you had to have a Game Boy Advanced for that. And Game Boy Advance did not release in my country. So by the time that Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, there were all these characters introduced that I had no idea who they were. I had no idea why Sora was where he was. Like, I was missing so much context as to what was going on. And they were like the Organization 13 members, and Like, there was all this extra nonsense going on. It ended up with me not really enjoying Kingdom Hearts 2. And I just remember being very, very annoyed and upset about that, because they literally decided, yes, you had to have this console to follow the story, and it just wasn't released here, like, at all. And that's kind of how I fell out with Kingdom Hearts. Let's see what shape. Okay, so she has very much more zigzag shape to her hair. Make it a little lighter, maybe. There we go. Now that I've added the shadows, I think her head is a little bit misplaced, but it's fine. Just don't look at it. It's fine. I'm worried you were deprived. I don't know, because from what I understand, the direction that Kingdom Hearts went into became very, very strange. Because the thing is, right, even as a teenager, I like 2D animation. So what I liked about Kingdom Hearts was the whole, you know, Disney mixed with JRPG angle. That's what I really enjoyed. And aside from like the Chain of Memories fiasco, which made it very difficult to enjoy the second Kingdom Hearts, the other problem is I didn't really care about how, like, all the anime, for lack of a better term, characters. Like, I didn't really care about Namine. I didn't really care about Organization 13. I was like, who the hell are these weirdos? I didn't care about any of that. I was far more interested in the Disney side of things. And the further Kingdom Hearts went along, the more it started focusing on the weird Nomura, like, anime influence of things. And I just really wasn't as interested in that as I was the animated Disney side of things. So I think that even if we had gotten Chain of Memories, I don't know whether I would have stuck with Kingdom Hearts, because it went into a direction that just wasn't really for me. It wasn't my thing. So, you know, that was also part of it. And also the other thing is, listen to me, speaking Afrikaans. So the other thing as well is that the 4-year difference between the release of Kingdom Hearts 2 and between Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2 is not that long amount of time unless you're a teenager. And Kingdom Hearts came out when I was like 14, I think. And by the time Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, I was like 18. So by the time that the second Kingdom Hearts was out, my tastes and what I enjoyed had changed so much that what I enjoyed about Kingdom Hearts wasn't really something that was as fun to me as somebody who was now older. That was also part of it, I think. I love it when they repeat the word darkness 100 times. See, I like that now as an adult because that feeds into this very weird sense of humor I have. So that's...
You have received a new message.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Bender. That's so kind of you. Thanks so much. Awesome drawing, Seapuff. I love the capybara. Have a good one. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I really appreciate it. But yes, that was also part of my, not even problem, but like issue with Kingdom Hearts is the direction it went into wasn't really with me as the target audience. And by the time the second one came out and I was 18 and I was looking at in studying animation and stuff like that, the focus on the more anime side of things became less and less like interesting to me, especially as somebody who my exposure to anime was far more OVAs that were made in the 80s than it was modern anime. So Kingdom Hearts, which is far more inspired by modern anime at the time, that was also kind of part of it. It was a style of anime that I was also not super interested in. Now we need this on overlay. There we go. And we'll just make this a little bit pinker. There we go. And then I'm just going to throw a quick story background. You guys have seen me do this before. It's very quick and easy. And I really like doing it. Do this. Make it a little darker. Throw in that. Do this. Grab a brush. This will be fine. Do that. Grab this. And blur just a little bit. It's fine. Oh, I don't know whether I have my sparkle brushes on this machine. Let me have a look. I don't think I do. I don't. I'll just use the default one, which isn't great, but it's at least something. Do that and make them blue and magenta and yellow. Now we take the erase tool. Soft is fine. We just kind of do that a little bit. There we go. Like I said, I can see places where there are anatomy problems, but it's fine. So how are you guys? And it's exactly midnight on the dot. Incredible timing. I do a stream where you do a Bob Ross oil painting. I don't know. I have literally never worked in oils. I think we used oils in art class once, and I hated the texture on my hands, which I know is a weird complaint, but there was something about the way that the oil paint felt on my hands itself, like the sensation, that I hated. I did not like the way the paint felt. And it was just not for me. I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'll stick to acrylics and gouache. And that'll just be what I focus on. Hey, right as we're wrapping up, we got Sticker Brush Symphony. Nice. Yeah. I was actually thinking of, I started with Bubsy for the music. I was thinking of finding one of the covers of Simon's Tears? No, Blood Tears. Simon's Quest, Blood Tears. Because there's some very good remixes where they give it like a metal sound. And I was thinking of doing that because I've been listening to a lot of the metal I like for the Velma review in a weird way. But then I found the Bubsy song. And I was like, you know what? This is so stupid. I'm going to use this. This is very funny to me. But I have some really good remixes of Sticker Brush Symphony as well. That's up on OC Remix, which obviously is my channel. But like on OC Remix, there are some really, really good remixes of the song. I'm busy using a mix on YouTube called Donkey Wave. I've been using that recently because the music I used before had a copyright claim for a song that wasn't even in the mix. I don't know what is going on there. So I started using this one. Oh, thank you. Oh, it's a membership. Thank you for becoming a member again, Mr. Bender. I could go watch Snow White 2025, or I could pay for something that I actually enjoy. Thank you so much. That's a really funny way of putting it. Speaking of which, I'll say I'll hang out for another 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because I usually like hanging out after the stream. I saw that EFAP did a recent episode where they watched the original Snow White and then they watched the remake right after it. They did that with Mulan as well, and they also did that with 101 Dalmatians. So I'm really curious to watch that. I'm a little bit nervous because even though I'm also critical of things in the original Snow White, I've got like a better picture of the context in which the movie was made. So even though there are things I find that are a little bit lacking in terms of the pacing, I think that's one of the problems with the movie is the pacing. I'm worried that EFAP will criticize things about the movie because they don't have context for how the movie was made. Like, that's a concern I have. And that's the kind of thing that, like, gets my anxiety up, because I want, like, you want to correct somebody, you want to give context, not because you think they're wrong, but because you're like, oh no, there's context you're missing, and I want to really, really give you that context because it explains what you're talking about. So it's sometimes a little rough when you watch people who don't have context for something, because it spikes my anxiety, and I don't know why. It really, really shouldn't, but that's just something I struggle with, I suppose. But I probably will just, like, suck it up and watch them watch it, because again, I also like watching people react to things that they watch for the first time, which I'm pretty sure the EFAP crew have seen Snow White before, but they've probably watched it when they were kids or something, if even that. I don't think Rags watched Disney movies growing up, he said before, but that's something I'm interested in seeing, because again, it would be interesting to see somebody watch them back to back, and because I'm also interested in making a review talking about it, which I might do after Velma, but I might do Hazbin Hotel first, because the Snow White thing will require a lot of reading on my part. I don't know whether it would even go into the video or not. I just really like researching. It's a topic I'm passionate about. So even if I don't talk about certain things in the review itself, I like gathering that information just like in my own head. I just find it useful to have. Seapuff the VTuber as herself. I do have a VTuber model. Again, I need to start investing in that PC setup so it can be a little bit stronger, so I can actually use the VTuber rig that my friend made for me. Oh, hey, Ice Relics Cry. See, you just showed up. How was your day? Mine was pretty awful and absolutely unhinged, yet I had fun. I'm sorry your day was awful, but I'm glad you had fun, question mark. Also, should we get the... I wish we could get both of these on screen at the same time. We'll put the Capybara up for a while. As a kid, my audio processing was so bad I didn't understand anything in Snow White said at all. As an adult, now that I can understand the movie, I do appreciate the movie more. I want to say I had a similar problem, but for different reasons, because my English wasn't the best when I was very, very young. So when I watched Snow White as a child, I had to process based on visuals alone, because I didn't understand the dialogue very well. So, I mean, there was that. Interestingly enough, I know that a lot of people were scared of Snow White as a child because it is scary in places, but I don't have a memory of being scared of it, which doesn't mean I'm like a tough child or anything. I was scared of the gummy bears as a child, and I still don't know why. But I don't have any memories of being scared of Snow White. All I remember is Snow White had a theater re-release, which is how I saw it as a child. And I remember watching it, and then at the age of like 4 or 5, being very, very angry that there wasn't a VHS release that I could rent from the video store. And like child me couldn't understand why a VHS release wasn't coming out for the movie that was in theaters. Because as like a 4-year-old, I was very aware of the fact that I like this movie. If I wait a bit, a video will come out and I can watch it again. And that wasn't happening for Snow White, and 4-year-old me couldn't figure out why. That's like a very visceral memory I had, where child me had no concept that it was a re-released movie. And that really bothered me, where I'm like, I want to watch this again. Why is nobody stocking the video? And it's because Disney had that stupid vault thing. They still do. They have the vault where they only do limited releases of movies. And that I think that says a lot about me as a child. I'm literally a toddler and I'm getting angry about movie release schedules. Seriously, your human Luna has me smitten. She feels so alive, as if you snapped a photo. Thank you. We can put you guys... Capybara or Luna, again, I'm sad I can't put both on screen. I probably could figure out how, but I don't feel like figuring it out right now. The vault, yes, the vault. I don't know if they still do the vault, because Disney is weird about physical releases these days. They just put things on Disney Plus now. which is an entire thing on its own. But the vault was a source of much a headache for me growing up. Like, waiting for them to release The Little Mermaid on Blu-ray was so aggravating because I had to wait like 8 years from when I was aware of like major releases on Blu-ray and stuff. And then for them to finally release The Little Mermaid, you had to grab it when it came out, because Disney, releasing things from the vault, only released it in like a very limited quantity at the time. So you had to grab it on Blu-ray when you saw it brand new, because they didn't release it as like mass production discs at the time. I think that says a lot about Disney. Yeah, that's true. The title of the stream is going to be hilarious. March Patreon with Human Luna and a Capybara. You know what? I'm going to call it that. That's really funny. Rip Disney's typical method of baiting and switching their customers. You're giving it a date, 1984 to 2019. They kind of still do that to a certain degree. They've just discovered new ways to do it. But they're just as infuriating, let's be honest. And now you don't even own the movie. Now it's like, oh, watch it on Disney Plus with the threat of us removing it eventually. Although they won't do that for their like big hitting animation films. It makes them too much money, and they need all the money they can get with their streaming service, because they did not realize how much it would cost to host their own streaming service, and that is really biting them. So they are finding out at the moment. And apparently a certain anime streaming site, not Crunchyroll, I'm talking about one of the others, apparently that anime streaming site got more monthly traffic than Disney Plus did, which is really funny. Not very much so for the anime streaming site in question, because that might be a little bit too much attention put on them, which runs the risk of it staying up. But the fact that that's a thing that happened is really funny. That's so funny to me. Bit of, you know, schadenfreude, but whatever. Anyway, I'm going to sleep. Have a good time. Thanks for hanging out or just popping in, Relix's Crow. I hope I'm saying that right. Again, me and names. Thanks for dropping by and saying hi. Down with capitalism. 80-year-old man, yes. Let me put it that way. Yeah, one of those. And again, it's really funny to me. And like I said, I heard through the grapevine, Disney and their streaming service, they wanted a cut of the pie that Netflix had, but they did not anticipate the cost of keeping their own servers. That's where the cinch fell. You know, that's where the catch was. That's the thing. If you could pay $15 monthly for one movie you love and a ton of others you won't, or just $15 for a used DVD that you have forever as long as the disc holds up, what would you rather? Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, I need to rip some of my discs, especially some of the harder to find films. I've recently gotten anxiety about that as well, because I didn't know disc rot was a thing. And since I find that out, I'm like highly anxious for some of my movies. Especially like I've got a bunch of Jerry Beck's, I've got a whole stack of the Jerry Beck DVDs, which are the worst cartoons of all time. I need to rip those because I don't know if many of them are archived online at all. Some of them might be. I know that like Perry the Pelican, I think it is. I think that one is. And what's the other one? I forget the name. There's a few of them that I know for a fact are on YouTube, but I don't know if it's all of them. So that one I absolutely need to rip. And I don't know if Frank and Ollie is easily available. It might be on Disney Plus, I'm not sure. But I want to rip that as well, specifically for the bonus features, because that would be very important, especially if I want to do like the video on the making of Snow White. I want those bonus features, as well as the bonus features on Snow White itself. Like my fam pays a ton for Disney Plus, and I watched the Raimi Spider-Man films on it. But then I found all 3 at a used store for around $30. Yeah, exactly. I just found a book about World War II planes from the 80s. I don't know what I have to say about that. My brain just completely shut down. I think I was trying to like figure out how that correlates to DVDs, and I couldn't figure it out, and then I just completely glitched out for a second there. Thank you for reminding me. I've been looking for So Bad It's Good animation to recommend to a friend of mine. Yeah, the Jerry Beck collection. Jerry Beck has uploaded some of them to his own YouTube channel, but not a lot. I don't know why Jerry Beck doesn't use his YouTube channel anymore that much. And I wish I could ask him, but he doesn't have a massive like online presence. He might be on Facebook, I don't know. And I don't want to bother my lecturers to like ask them, hey, could you guys ask Jerry Beck for me why he hasn't uploaded his stuff to YouTube? Like, that's just bothering the man for no real reason, right? The puff.exe stopped working. Yeah, pretty much. You don't need to say sorry. I think like I'm dehydrated because I didn't drink enough water today, and I'm just a little bit like wired or fried, that's the right word, because Velma has melted my brain, and then I come on screen and I talk for like 3 hours about Velma. I'm gonna peace out. I'll fix the door I broke down at the start before I leave. Great drawings as usual. Take care. Thanks for hanging out, da boy. And I saw you. Oh, I saw your comment. That's what it was. When we were talking about the Breakfast Club. Yeah, I remember quite vividly. You commented because you had no idea they tried to do an episode talking about it, and I don't know why that one just like stuck out to me as like, oh, you didn't even know this episode existed. Oh, that sucks. Didn't drink enough tea. Yeah, I should have. But I was doing other things. Oh, I went down to the beach. That's what I did. Not for like actual beach things because the wind was too strong. I just grabbed lunch there. But I'm going to say goodnight because I clearly need to stop. My brain is no longer functioning. So I'm going to say goodnight. I'm back to editing Velma. I'll probably take tomorrow off though and like start editing Velma on Monday again. I need like a mental break from this awful, horrendous show. And the thing is, right, it's not getting to be emotionally at all. It's not like that it's upsetting me or anything. It's just like, it's so asinine. Like, that's the problem. It's not that I'm upset. It's not that it's taxing my mental health. It's not that it's like hurting me personally. It's just so asinine that like my brain, I can feel my brain losing function as I'm watching it. That's the big problem. But anyway, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you so much for all the super chats. I really appreciate it very, very much. Why would you subject yourself to such a thing? Well, people were asking for it. People were asking for it, and I thought maybe people would lose interest after a while, but it seemed they were just very interested in what I had to say about it. And I finished the Superman video, and then I did Magnifico, and I was like, you know what, sure, I'll do Velma. It's fine. To make the money. Yes, but also I wouldn't make a video about a topic I'm not interested in for money. Like, that's just not how I want to run my channel. I just kind of want to talk about the things I want to talk about, rather than like, oh, this is the newest trend, I better jump on this boat very quickly, regardless on whether I have any feelings about it or not. No, I'd rather talk about things I have feelings about. And part of watching Velma was seeing whether there was anything worth talking about, and there actually was. Mostly about how it's a confusing show that I don't understand. But anyway, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to stop the Donkey Kong synthwave music. And where's my end screen? There's the end screen. I'll upload the Capybara art. I'll do it tomorrow. And I'll upload the Luna and Capybara art so you guys will actually have that. Because most of the time I don't upload the finished pieces to the community posts, but I think I will this time. Anyway, good night, everyone. And I shall see you next month. But thanks for the super chats. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll see you again. Bye, guys.